Chapter 1704, Killing Emperors. Chapter 1704, Killing Emperors. In the blink of an eye, Su Zimo grew 3 heads and 6 arms in the center of the battlefield, and his aura rose continuously. 3 heads, 6 arms was a supreme divine power that made the human emperor famous in the ancient era. It was because of that supreme divine power that the eternal human emperor was able to suppress many top emperors of the primordial races and dominate the ancient era single-handedly. The power of divine powers surged into Su Zimo's body, tempering his flesh, bloodline, and even essence spirit continuously. The green Lotus true body became even stronger. Green rays of light shone from Su Zimo's body, as though a god had descended. Before the might of 3 heads, 6 arms was fully revealed, the green Lotus true body had already undergone a shocking transformation. Prior to this, be it the starlight sword of the Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper sect, or the pitch-black spear of the Dongfang Spear Emperor, both could pierce the green Lotus true body. But now, after the baptism of 2 supreme divine powers, the destiny dermic treasures of the 4 emperors could no longer injure the green Lotus true body. Standing on the spot, Su Zimo waved his 6 arms, be it in a fist, palm, finger, or claw form, and blocked all the incoming dermic treasures and weapons with his bare hands. Cling, clang. The dermic treasures of the 4 emperors were repelled, but the green Lotus true body was completely unharmed. The expressions of the 4 emperors changed starkly. They could clearly sense that the power surge in Su Zimo's body had not stopped and was still rising rapidly. Once the green Lotus true body was done with the refinement of the supreme divine power, even they did not know how strong Su Zimo would become. The only thing they were certain of was that they would definitely not be a match for Su Zimo. Break! Su Zimo gripped the creation Lotus platform and smashed it towards the pitch-black wheels that were spinning around him. Boom! 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 With 3 consecutive explosions, the 3 supreme divine powers were shattered into nothingness by the power of blood chi released by the creation Lotus platform in Su Zimo's hands. Su Zimo's blood chi surged and a jade green lotus appeared behind him, its gigantic lotus leaves covering the skies. It was as though the entire world was under the control of the creation green lotus. Battle! Su Zimo hollered and released the supreme divine power of 3 heads, 6 arms to fight against the 4 emperors. One of the arms raised the creation Lotus platform and smashed it towards the Shiman Mirror Emperor. The Shiman Mirror Emperor raised the ancient bronze mirror hurriedly and blocked towards the creation Lotus platform. Clang! There was a loud bang. Although the ancient bronze mirror was fine, both arms of the Shiman Mirror Emperor were snapped. A terrifying power surged into his body through the ancient bronze mirror. A blood mist burst forth from his body and instantly, countless flesh exploded, turning the Shiman Mirror Emperor into a bloodied man. If not for the ancient bronze mirror, Su Zimo's attack would have crushed him into dust. He wouldn't have been able to survive even with blood rebirth. Even if the primordial races comprehended 2 supreme divine powers, their combat strength was equivalent to humans comprehending 4 supreme divine powers. However, the Grade 8 creation Green Lotus was even stronger and more terrifying than the primordial races. After all, there was only a single creation Green Lotus. Even Su Zimo did not know how strong his Green Lotus true body that had comprehended 2 supreme divine powers could be. Today's battle was a good opportunity for him to verify it. After severely injuring the Shiman Mirror Emperor with a single strike, Su Zimo did not hesitate and advanced once more in a flash, not giving the latter any chance to catch his breath. Su Zimo's other arm moved and the blood chi in his fist expanded, as though a gigantic seal was formed, suppressing the Shiman Mirror Emperor. Hell Blood Shield. An extremely evil bloodline aura burst forth from the body of the Shiman Mirror Emperor. As he waved his hands, a shimmering blood shield was formed. Blood Refinement Fiend Sutra. The storyteller's gaze focused as he murmured. All the emperors present realized that the divine power released by the Shiman Mirror Emperor was from the Blood Refinement Fiend Sutra. Boom! Su Zimo's expression was unchanged as the gigantic seal conjured by his fist continued to suppress. It collided with the Hell Blood Shield and let out a deafening bang. Immediately after, the Hell Blood Shield shattered. Even Supreme Divine Powers could not defend against Su Zimo, who had 3 heads and 6 arms. Poof! Immediately after, the body of the Shaman Mirror Emperor was shattered by the impact of the tremendous power. An essence spirit escaped and sped into the distance as it gathered flesh. Kill! Suddenly, Su Zimo opened his mouth and released the secret skill of Thunderclap Kill. A single Thunderclap Kill was terrifying enough. 3 mouths released the Sound Domain secret skill at the same time from the 3 heads. The 3 heads resonated, and the power of Thunderclap Kill tripled. The flesh around the essence spirit of the Shaman Mirror Emperor had only gathered halfway when it dissipated on the spot. The essence spirit stood quietly in midair, and cracks had already appeared on it. Its life force was decreasing, and it could no longer survive. The Shaman Mirror Emperor was killed by Thunderclap Kill. The moment Su Zimo killed the Shaman Mirror Emperor, the other 3 emperors struck at the same time and launched wild attacks at Su Zimo. However, Su Zimo had 3 heads and 6 arms. Even if he suppressed the Shaman Mirror Emperor with both arms, he still had 4 arms free to defend against the other 3 emperors. The changes brought about by 3 heads, 6 arms were not merely an increase in strength. It was a transformation in terms of combat strength. With his 3 heads and 6 arms, Su Zimo could see 6 directions and would not be ambushed. The Dongfang Spear Emperor waved the spear in his hands and charged forward. Su Zimo raised his arm and clenched it into a fist, sending the spear flying with a single punch. Fresh blood dripped from the palms of the Dongfang Spear Emperor. The Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper Sect and the Fu Emperor of Malevolent Earth Sect were repelled by Su Zimo's fist and palm as well. Right then, Thunderclap Kill descended, and the Shaman Mirror Emperor died. The Dongfang Spear Emperor only comprehended 3 supreme divine powers, so the Thunderclap Kill dealt a huge blow to him as well. In fact, blood scars appeared on his body, and it almost shattered. A lost look appeared in his eyes as well. His mind went blank momentarily. Although that opening was fleeting, it was enough for Su Zimo. In a flash, Su Zimo arrived before the Dongfang Spear Emperor and extended his finger, tapping his forehead gently. Poof! A hole surfaced and fresh blood gushed out. The eyes of the Dongfang Spear Emperor suddenly turned bloodshot, but dimmed in the blink of an eye. In his consciousness, his essence spirit was already shattered by Su Zimo's finger. The Dongfang Spear Emperor's head tilted, and he fell from midair. The emperors were dumbfounded. Nobody expected that desolate marshal, who was initially on the brink of death, would reverse the situation and comprehend 3 heads, 6 arms to release an incomparably domineering power to kill 2 emperors in succession. On the battlefield, Su Zimo's aura was torrential as he glared at the Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper Sect and Fu Emperor of Malevolent Earth Sect not far away with a burning gaze before striding over. The 2 of you, die as well. Chapter 1705, Zhi Wen. Chapter 1705, Zhi Wen. The Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper Sect and Fu Emperor of Malevolent Earth Sect exchanged glances. After a moment of hesitation, their eyes shone with a blood glint, and they made a decision. The 2 of them decided to give it a shot. If they could kill Desolate Marshal here, his bloodline would provide an unimaginable boost to their combat strength. Blood tribute. The 2 emperors channeled their secret skills and spoke at the same time with a sinister tone. Although many emperors present had already hidden far away to watch the battle, the moment those words were said, the bloodlines in their bodies stirred uncontrollably and wanted to leave their bodies. Some emperors even released supreme divine powers, but they could not stop their bloodlines from stirring. The emperors were shocked. That was the situation when they were far away. It was hard to imagine what would happen to the martial emperor who was in the center of the battlefield and had to endure the secret skill head-on. However, to their surprise, Su Zimo merely frowned slightly and did not even pause at all. In the blink of an eye, Su Zimo had already arrived before the 2 emperors. Even the expressions of the Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper Sect and Fu Emperor of Malevolent Earth Sect changed. let alone the surrounding emperors. How is that possible? Once released, even supreme divine powers would find it difficult to defend against this secret skill of the blood refinement Fiend Sutra. Even though Su Zimo was the Green Lotus true body and his blood chi was strong, it was impossible for him to be unaffected. What the Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper Sect and Fu Emperor of Malevolent Earth Sect did not know was that Du once released this secret skill on Su Zimo and Monk Daming back then. However, Su Zimo and Monk Daming were not affected at that time. On the contrary, Du was severely injured by Monk Daming's blood tribute. Evil Tao. Su Zimo harumphed coldly and said icily, "Extinguish." He raised his arm and held the creation Lotus platform in his palm. It shone with a bedazzling light and crushed down towards the Fu Emperor of Malevolent Earth Sect. As for his other arms, they struck towards the Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper Sect. The moment he attacked, he wanted to suppress the two emperors. The Fu Emperor of Malevolent Earth Sect did not have time to dodge and hurriedly conjured the Hell Blood Shield to defend himself. Boom! The creation Green Lotus smashed into the Hell Blood Shield and the Lotus blossomed. Green light filled the air and riddled the Hell Blood Shield with holes. Suddenly, Su Zimo's eyes turned pitch black and emitted a dark and cold aura. A pitch-black beam of light burst forth and landed on the face of the Fu Emperor of Malevolent Earth Sect. Nether Glow Eye. That visual technique was not at the level of a divine power yet. Although it did not manage to pierce the Fu Emperor's face, there was a layer of ice on his face and his bloodline was frozen. The temperature in the Fu Emperor's consciousness dipped. A layer of frost covered his essence spirit and it was chilling to the bones. The Fu Emperor's consciousness paused for a moment. In that short instant, the creation Lotus platform tore through the Hell Blood Shield and smashed against the Fu Emperor's face. Poof! Although the Fu Emperor's face could defend against the power of the Nether Glow Eye, it could not defend against the creation Lotus platform and was shattered. The Fu Emperor's essence spirit was killed on the spot before it could escape. The Fu Emperor of Malevolent Earth Sect was dead. The Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper Sect at the side was affected by the power of the Nether Glow Eye as well. Right now, Su Zimo had 3 heads and 6 arms. As such, there were 6 pitch-black beams released by the Nether Glow Eye. However, many stars appeared in the consciousness of the Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper Sect, and he managed to defend against the power of the Nether Glow Eye while maintaining his consciousness. Before Su Zimo's killing move descended, the essence spirit of the Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper Sect had already escaped from his body. Bang! Su Zimo's 4 punches descended one after another and smashed the body of the Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper Sect into pieces almost at the same time, causing his flesh to fly everywhere. The Grade 8 creation Green Lotus true body that comprehended 2 supreme divine powers was enough to suppress emperors of the human race who comprehended 4 supreme divine powers. Blood rebirth. The essence spirit of the Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper Sect escaped, and he channeled his divine powers hurriedly to reconstruct his body. However, Su Zimo was like a shadow as he waved his 6 arms and charged forward once more. Swash, swash, swash. At the same time, Su Zimo channeled his essence spirit and his figure was still speeding when the dermic treasures and weapons that fell everywhere turned into streams of light and landed in his palm. In the blink of an eye, Su Zimo held a dermic treasure in each of his 6 palms as he charged to suppress the Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper Sect. Boom, boom, boom. A deafening boom sounded. The emperors were secretly speechless and shocked. There was no technique to speak of, and it was absolute strength. No matter how strong the Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper Sect was, he could not defend against the consecutive attacks of the 6 arms. After 2 consecutive rounds of suppression, the Starlight Sword in the hands of the Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper Sect was shattered by Su Zimo. Su Zimo's body spun continuously and his 6 arms danced with dermic treasures, continuing to suppress and smash down without any pause. The Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper Sect was smashed to death by Su Zimo before he could even catch his breath. Once an emperor was targeted by the berserk and unreasonable attacks of 3 heads 6 arms, who could defend against that? Even the emperors who were watching felt suffocated. 3 heads, 6 arms. As expected of the divine power that brought the eternal human emperor to fame. How terrifying. The martial emperor alone is already so strong. Imagine, that's equivalent to 3 martial emperors attacking at the same time. It's no wonder why the Xiong emperor is dead. He already has such combat strength after comprehending 2 supreme divine powers. If he can comprehend 3 or 4, won't he be comparable to the eternal human emperor? I reckon that the martial emperor's future accomplishments might even be above the eternal human emperor. After this battle, the emperors no longer had any doubts about Su Zimo leading everyone. The killing intent in Su Zimo's eyes did not dissipate after he killed the Xiong emperor of Heavenly Dipper sect. 6 gazes shifted and landed on an emperor at the same time. Zhi Wen, come out and prepare to die. Su Zimo said coldly. All the emperors present were sharp about the human heart. When they saw Su Zimo's expression, they knew that something was amiss. Many emperors retreated and distanced themselves from Zhi Wen. On the other hand, Monk Kong Yuan frowned slightly. He did not want to abandon Monk Zhi Wen and leave. So he asked with cupped fists, Martial Emperor, why do you want to kill Zhi Wen? That's because even if he doesn't kill me, I'll kill him. Monk Zhi Wen's voice suddenly turned extremely sinister and sounded in the ears of Monk Kong Yuan. Watch out. Immediately after, the storyteller's warning sounded. Monk Kong Yuan was alarmed and abandoned his physical body decisively without hesitation. His essence spirit escaped and fled into the distance. Monk Zhi Wen crushed Monk Kong Yuan's head with his palm and almost killed the latter and his essence spirit on the spot. You can't escape. Monk Zhi Wen's expression turned incomparably menacing and his eyes were bloodshot. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and released his grisly red tongue that extended dozens of feet, sweeping towards Monk Kong Yuan's essence spirit instantly. Chapter 1706, For Emptiness. Chapter 1706, For Emptiness. The grisly red tongue was extremely fast. Monk Kong Yuan was unable to reconstruct his body in that short period of time and was instantly in a dangerous situation. Swoosh! Suddenly, a scroll descended from the skies and opened up rapidly. There were some blood-colored words on the scroll, but they were much dimmer. The scroll surrounded Monk Kong Yuan, and the side with the words was facing outwards. Monk Zhi Wen's tongue struck the scroll. Instead of penetrating the seemingly thin paper, green smoke billowed. Shing! The grisly red tongue retracted as though it was burned by some power. Monk Zhi Wen grunted as well and frowned slightly. The human emperor's Dermic edict. Among the emperors, someone recognized the origin of the scroll. Su Zimo had acted in time and released the human emperor's Dermic edict to save Monk Kong Yuan. Hundreds of years ago, the human emperor's Dermic edict killed emperors. After all these years, the power of the killing word art left behind by the human emperor had mostly dissipated and could not pose a threat to emperors. Even so, the human emperor's Dermic edict still possessed the aura and power of the eternal human emperor and would not be penetrated so easily. Condense. Under the protection of the human emperor's Dermic edict, Monk Kong Yuan reconstructed his body before long and reappeared. He looked at Monk Zhi Wen with doubt, anger, and confusion in his eyes. Zhi Wen, why are you doing this? Monk Kong Yuan could not believe that Monk Zhi Wen would do such a thing to him. If Su Zimo had not saved him earlier on, he would have died. There's no why. Monk Zhi Wen's expression was cold and his eyes shone with a strange blood glint. You cultivated that fiend technique as well? Monk Kong Yuan seemed to have sensed something and asked with a frown. Monk Zhi Wen smiled and ignored Monk Kong Yuan. The blood glint in his eyes shifted towards Su Zimo. Martial Emperor, let me test your capabilities. Moon-striking comet. Monk Zhi Wen conjured a sword art and closed 2 fingers. With a soft shout, he slashed in Su Zimo's direction. Endless sword intent gathered on Monk Zhi Wen's sword finger. It was dark and deep with a chilling killing intent. It was a supreme divine power of the Sword Dao. Right now, there were 2 supreme divine powers of the Sword Dao that were known in Tianhuang mainland. One was moon-striking comet, and the other was sun-piercing white rainbow. The moment moon-striking comet exploded, the emperors were shocked. It was not merely because of the supreme divine power, but the burst power released by monk Zhi Wen. The power of that supreme divine power was on another level compared to the Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper sect and Fu Emperor of Malevolent Earth sect. Both the Xiong Emperor and Fu Emperor had comprehended 4 supreme divine powers. If the power mustered by monk Zhi Wen was stronger than the 2 emperors, there was only a single possibility. He had comprehended 5 supreme divine powers. Nobody expected that monk Zhi Wen, who was hidden among the many emperors, had already comprehended 5 supreme divine powers and was even stronger than the mystic emperor. Even in the ancient era where multiple emperors rose, there was only one emperor who managed to comprehend 5 supreme divine powers, the Fiend Emperor Hatred. On the battlefield, a shuddering supreme divine power of the sword Tao descended. A dark shadow tore through the air at an extremely fast speed. Even with Su Zimo's movement technique, he could not avoid it. At that moment, the supreme divine power of the sword Tao even managed to negate his spirit perception. It was too fast. Su Zimo released all his blood qi and leaped into the air. The dark shadow pierced the chest of his green lotus true body. An extremely sharp sword qi surged into the green lotus true body and ripped every fiber of flesh, destroying his life force in a frenzied manner. However, now that he had comprehended 2 supreme divine powers, the green lotus true body was no longer the same as before as well. The moon-striking comet had already reached its limits by piercing the grade 8 peak green lotus true body. It was impossible for the moon-striking comet to destroy the green lotus true body entirely. Blood qi surged within the green lotus true body. Everlasting vitality circulated and life force was generated endlessly in a vibrant manner, howling within his body like a tsunami. The moment a part of his life force was destroyed by the sharp sword intent, even richer life force surged forth. The 2 extreme powers devoured one another using the green lotus true body as a battlefield. Although the bloodied hole on the green lotus true body's chest did not recover immediately, it was no longer bleeding. It was healing bit by bit. The creation green lotus is truly perfect. Monk Zhi Wen praised instead when he saw that. If that green lotus true body comprehends 4 supreme divine powers, or even 5, 6, who in the world could defend against it? Once that green lotus true body is cultivated to grade 9, even the taboos will be inferior to it. With a deranged expression, a glint shone in monk Zhi Wen's eyes alongside looks of greed. It was a strange gaze. Under normal circumstances, the stronger Su Zimo and the green lotus true body were, the greater the threat they posed to monk Zhi Wen. However, on the contrary, monk Zhi Wen was even more excited than Su Zimo. Suddenly, Su Zimo had an illusion. It seemed as though the person he was facing at the moment was no longer monk Zhi Wen. Take my attack too. Su Zimo ignored the deranged monk Zhi Wen and strode forward. His 6 arms danced, and each of them wielded a dermic treasure, saber, sword, or lotus platform. In midair, they created afterimages and suppressed monk Zhi Wen. The 2 supreme divine powers he comprehended were not direct killing divine powers. Although 3 heads 6 arms was terrifying, it merely raised one's strength and would not release any divine powers or secret skills to suppress their opponents. Even so, the power released by the grade 8 creation green lotus was strong enough to take on some divine powers and dermic weapons head-on. Once Su Zimo closed in and suppressed him with his 6 arms, monk Zhi Wen would not even have the chance to release his divine powers. At that time, monk Zhi Wen would only have a single outcome. He would be crushed to death. That was what happened to the Xiong Emperor of Heavenly Dipper sect. With the combination of everlasting vitality and 3 heads 6 arms, almost no one could match Su Zimo. The moment Su Zimo approached, monk Zhi Wen suddenly retreated and the blood glint in his eyes disappeared. He turned dignified and benevolent. Monk Zhi Wen pointed at Su Zimo and chanted Sanskrit, for emptiness. When they heard that, the emperors and storyteller present were moved. For Emptiness was an extremely powerful supreme divine power among the many divine powers of the Buddhist monasteries with shocking lethality. The ancient Buddha emperor could suppress some emperors of the primordial races, although he only comprehended 3 supreme divine powers. Apart from the creation green lotus, it was because the ancient Buddha emperor had comprehended that supreme divine power. The 4 things referred to earth, water, wind, and fire. In the Buddhist sutras and Taoists, they were the foundation for all living beings. For Emptiness meant that everything would be reduced into nothingness, returning to silence. Chapter 1707, Everlasting, Indestructible Green Lotus. Chapter 1707, Everlasting, Indestructible Green Lotus. Some ancient books recorded scenes of 4 Emptiness. In the ancient war, the Buddha emperor released 4 Emptiness, and the emperors of the primordial races turned into nothingness in front of everyone, vanishing from this world completely. It was as though they were erased by an invisible force. Dharmic treasures, flesh, and essence spirit became nothingness. This supreme divine power of the Buddhist monasteries had not been cultivated by any emperor of the Buddhist monasteries since the ancient era. To think that monk Zhi Wen would be able to cultivate 4 Emptiness in this generation. What was even more frightening was that the ancient Buddha emperor had only comprehended 3 supreme divine powers. However, monk Zhi Wen had comprehended 5 supreme divine powers. When he released 4 Emptiness, the power burst was even more terrifying than the ancient Buddha emperors. Su Zimo waved his 6 arms and was about to reach monk Zhi Wen when he stopped in midair. It was as though he was restrained on the spot by an invisible force. Right after, under countless gazes, the dharmic treasures in Su Zimo's hands dissipated one after another into dust. Thereafter, even the dust vanished, turning into nothingness. Apart from the creation Lotus platform that was intact, the other dharmic treasures were gone, wiped away like dust on a mirror. Before long, Su Zimo's 6 arms began to shatter as well. His legs, head, and body turned into dust and disappeared before long. Pissed, the emperors gasped and felt chills run down their spines. The green lotus true body of the martial emperor was extremely powerful and could even take on divine powers and dharmic treasures head-on. Even so, it was erased alive by 4 Emptiness. Right then, an emperor exclaimed softly and suddenly said, "Something's not right. The martial emperor isn't dead, and the creation Lotus platform is still around." The emperors focused their gazes. Although the creation Lotus platform that floated in midair was dim, it was intact. In the middle of the Lotus platform sat a black-haired essence spirit. It was Su Zimo. Monk Zhi Wen sneered and channeled the power of his essence spirit to continue imbuing the power of 4 Emptiness. Earth, water, fire, and wind have all turned into nothingness. Let's see how much longer you can last. Suddenly, in the middle of the creation Lotus platform, Su Zimo's essence spirit opened his eyes and said slowly, "Even if this world is destroyed, I won't be destroyed. Even if the earth, water, fire, and wind turn into nothingness, the creation green lotus will continue to exist." Before his sentence was finished, the creation Lotus platform began to spin and the 72 lotus holes spewed out rays of light. A jade green lotus stem and leaves that covered the skies appeared beneath the Lotus platform. In the blink of an eye, a creation green lotus grew once more and soared into the skies. It swayed gently and created ripples with a green glow. The storyteller heaved a sigh of relief and nodded to himself. He's not dead yet. There's no wonder why the creation green lotus is an utmost treasure of the universe. It seems like the creation green lotus came from the immortal world. It's absolutely true that there's no way the lower worlds can nurture such a powerful treasure. I heard that a green lotus was born in chaos before heaven and earth was formed. Even for 4 Emptiness, everything returns to chaos. If that's the case, how can it injure the creation green lotus? The emperors discussed excitedly with bright eyes. For them, being able to witness such battles was also extremely beneficial for their cultivation. "Zhi Wen, you've lost." Su Zimo reappeared, and had already arrived before Monk Zhi Wen with a torrential aura. With a loud shout, he raised the creation Lotus platform and smashed it towards the ladder. Hell Blood Shield. Monk Zhi Wen did not dare to take it head-on with his body and conjured his third supreme divine power. A gigantic blood shield was formed in front of Monk Zhi Wen, shimmering with an extremely evil aura. Boom! The creation Lotus platform smashed onto the blood shield but failed to break through it right away. Instead, it fell into a scarlet blood beam. The blood possessed a strong power of filth and was used to destroy dermic treasures. If it was any other dermic treasure, it would have been scrap metal the moment it was soaked in that blood. The creation Lotus platform was filled with a resplendent glow that protected it from the surrounding blood. It was actually in a stalemate. Martial Emperor. Zhi Wen smiled gently. You've only comprehended 2 supreme divine powers, and you're only on par with me in terms of strength. You're way too naive if you think that you can kill me. Humph. Su Zimo sneered as well. If that's all you've got, I'll send you on your way right now. Before his sentence was finished, Su Zimo slapped his storage bag and withdrew a pitch-black seal with defined edges that emitted an extremely terrifying aura. The moment the pitch-black seal was summoned, the void of the ancient battlefield trembled. The Human Emperor's Seal. It possessed the fortune of Tianhuang mainland and spanned thousands of kilometers. This was truly a massive weapon of Tianhuang mainland that could suppress everything. Prior to this, the reason why Su Zimo did not release the Human Emperor's Seal even against the encirclement of 4 emperors was because he wanted to comprehend 3 heads 6 arms. Now that he had comprehended that supreme divine power, he no longer held back. Shatter! Su Zimo hollered and raised the Human Emperor's Seal, smashing it towards the blood shield. Monk Zhi Wen's pupils constricted. He could sense the aura of death under the pressure of the Human Emperor's Seal. I can't defend against it. A thought flashed through Monk Zhi Wen's mind. Boom! There was a loud bang. The Hell Blood Shield was shattered by the Human Emperor's Seal and blood splattered everywhere. Although the blood was evil, it could not taint the creation Lotus platform or the Human Emperor's Seal at all. Su Zimo held the creation Lotus platform with his left hand and the Human Emperor's Seal with his right, smashing down onto Monk Zhi Wen's head. The moment the blood shield shattered, Monk Zhi Wen summoned his destiny dermic weapon, the Fiend Vanquishing Diamond Staff. Monk Zhi Wen waved his Fiend Vanquishing Diamond Staff and blocked the Human Emperor's Seal. Break! Su Zimo hollered. Crack! Cracks appeared on the Fiend Vanquishing Diamond Staff. It was shattered by a single attack from the Human Emperor's Seal. Actually, no matter how strong the Human Emperor's Seal was, it could not shatter the Fiend Vanquishing Diamond Staff that was tempered by 5 supreme divine powers. However, the Fiend Vanquishing Diamond Staff was a dermic treasure of the Buddhist monasteries. As for Monk Zhi Wen, now that he had turned fiendish, he could no longer unleash the true power of the dermic treasure. Monk Zhi Wen's expression finally changed. With the shattering of the Fiend Vanquishing Vajra staff, he seized the opportunity to retreat. He bit the tip of his tongue gently and spat out a mouthful of essence blood, forming a gigantic blood face in midair that devoured towards Su Zimo. This was the 4th supreme divine power. However, the moment the supreme divine power was formed, Monk Zhi Wen shuddered and frowned, as though something was wrong. The blood face was showing signs of dispersing. There was no way Su Zimo would let such an opportunity slip. He strode forward and raised the Human Emperor's Seal, shattering the blood face. Monk Zhi Wen's eyes flickered as he roared with a bewildered expression, "Dermic blood escape." Chapter 1708, On the Verge. Chapter 1708, On the Verge. When Monk Zhi Wen saw that the situation was amiss, he wanted to make use of dermic blood escape to escape. Once cultivated to the level of a divine power, dermic blood escape required burning half of one's bloodline, and the speed released was extremely shocking. A blood beam tore through the air. Suppress? The storyteller pointed forward, and the Human Emperor's palace descended, suppressing Monk Zhi Wen with an incomparably majestic aura. He could not let Monk Zhi Wen escape now that the latter had cultivated the blood refinement Fiend Sutra. At that moment, The storyteller had already realized that there must be an unimaginable secret behind the rebirth of the Blood Refinement Fiend Sutra, coupled with the fact that many emperors were involved. The storyteller wanted to use monk Zhi Wen to uncover the secret. Swoosh. However, the storyteller still underestimated the speed of dermic blood escape. Blood light streaked by and disappeared into the horizon before the human emperor's seal descended. Su Zimo stood on the spot motionlessly. It was not that he did not want to chase, but he knew that he would not be able to catch up even if he did. Most importantly, Su Zimo knew one more thing. Monk Zhi Wen would definitely not survive. There was someone else waiting for him at the front. Zhi Wen has comprehended 5 supreme divine powers. He'll definitely be a threat if we let him escape. The storyteller murmured with a worried expression. Don't worry, Senior. He won't be able to escape, Su Zimo said indifferently. Suddenly, in the distant horizon where even the spirit consciousnesses of the emperors could not detect, a violent energy fluctuation with a torrential blood chi spread. Immediately after, the power of bloodline deteriorated rapidly and the fluctuation there gradually calmed down. That's the direction where Zhi Wen escaped. Could he have been killed? The emperors exchanged glances with bewildered expressions. They were too far away and could not sense what was happening in the distance. However, they could vaguely guess that monk Zhi Wen was already dead. Even if Zhi Wen's strength was diminished after the battle, he possesses a body and essence spirit that was tempered by 5 supreme divine powers after all. Who could have killed him? I'm not sure. There might be hidden experts in the ancient battlefield. The storyteller pondered for a moment and suddenly sent a voice transmission to Su Zimo with his spirit consciousness. Zimo, is the person who killed Zhi Wen the Emperor with the Tao title of Solar Luna? Su Zimo nodded. A glint flashed through the storyteller's eyes as he asked sternly once more, is this monk Daming from 40,000 years ago? That's him. Su Zimo remained silent for a moment and did not hide anything. If Lin Xuanji could guess it, so could the storyteller who was his master. To think that he's still alive even after 40,000 years. It makes sense why Heavenly Secrets would lose to him. Although Heavenly Secrets was killed by Yin Beichen, he was defeated by monk Daming in both exchanges and even lost his life in the final exchange. Instantly, the storyteller seemed to be immersed in his memories and lamented. Now that he has returned in this generation, is he a friend or a foe? The storyteller asked again. Although he had guessed monk Daming's identity, he did not know much about this generation's monk Daming. I don't know. Su Zimo shook his head gently. Although monk Daming saved him before, it was because he had some ties with the former. That was the reason why monk Daming treated him differently. However, monk Daming was no longer the same monk Daming from 40,000 years ago. Monk Daming from 40,000 years ago was compassionate and benevolent. He would definitely not kill the innocent. However, monk Daming's hands were stained with endless blood in this generation. In fact, in order to cultivate the Blood Refinement Fiend Sutra, he even set up the Grand Primordium Ancient Temple on purpose to attract many cultivators to kill and refine them. If monk Daming from 40,000 years ago knew about the situation at Heaven and Earth Valley, he would definitely do his best to stop it. However, in this generation, monk Daming took advantage of the situation and schemed against Heavenly Secrets, refining the bloodlines of many living beings in Heaven and Earth Valley to raise his cultivation. Su Zimo was not sure if monk Daming was a friend or foe. Don't bother about him. Su Zimo pondered for a moment. Right now, the greatest danger still comes from the primordial 5 races. The storyteller nodded as well. Martial Emperor, give the order. How should we fight this battle? The Battle Emperor of Overlord Palace asked loudly. Su Zimo said in a deep voice, if nothing goes wrong, this battle will break out in the North region. At that time, you guys will just have to hold back the emperors of the demon regions. As for the emperors of the primordial 5 races, I'll defend against them with all my might together with the emperors of the dragon, Kuin, and barbarian races. The emperors exchanged glances and heaved a sigh of relief. If they were to fight against the emperors of the primordial races head-on, they would most likely be doomed. However, they could definitely fight against the group of demon emperors. Thereafter, Su Zimo discussed with the storyteller and the emperors of the human race how the cultivators and disciples of the major sects should defend against the army of the primordial 5 races. Middle Continent, in the depths of a sinister cemetery. It was pitch black and cold in an ancient coffin underground. Suddenly, 2 blood lights shone from the ancient coffin. It seemed like a person's eyes. Interesting. Most of the cards I left in the human race have been cleaned up by you guys. Suddenly, a sinister voice sounded and reverberated through the ancient coffin in a shuddering manner. Let's see how you're going to resolve this next situation. Even I'm looking forward to it. An eerie laughter sounded, accompanied by an ear-piercing squeaking sound. It was as though someone was scraping the lid of the coffin with their sharp fingernails. 3 days later. Middle Continent. The Heavenly Eye, Bloodvine, Rakshasa, Golden Crow, Witch and God races were gathered. The clansmen below were divided into different factions and were densely packed with the clan leaders of the various races. There was a unique formation between the primordial 6 races. The God race was at the front. After the 10,000 race meet, the origin of the God race was no longer a secret. The reason why the primordial 5 races joined forces this time round was because they wanted the God race to be the vanguard. After the heavenly God Emperor died, although the God race had emperors, they could not defeat the Golden Crow Fire Emperor, Hell Witch Emperor, and the others. They had no choice but to compromise. Furthermore, for the God race, there were more benefits than disadvantages if Tianhuang mainland were to fall into chaos. After the God race were the Golden Crow, Heavenly Eye, and Bloodvine races. The 3 races formed a circular formation and protected the Witch race who had the weakest physique and bloodline in the middle. As for the Rakshasa race, they floated in midair. That formation could unleash the combat strength of the primordial 6 races to its limits. Outside the primordial 6 races, it was even more spectacular. There were hundreds of millions of demon beasts from the 8 demon regions that blanketed the mountains and plains, roaring into the skies and shaking the world. The emperors of the 8 demon regions had already submitted to the primordial 6 races. Under the orders of the demon emperors, the ferocious beasts and remnant beasts of the various demon regions came forth one after another and formed individual armies. They gathered in the Middle Continent and circled around the primordial 6 races. The battle was about to begin. Chapter 1709, Massive Battle. Chapter 1709, Massive Battle. The emperors of the 8 demon regions had already arrived in the Middle Continent, and there were a total of 17 of them. All of them stood at the outer perimeter of the emperors of the primordial races in a humble manner and did not dare to advance. For emperors of the God race were here and were ranked alongside the emperors of the demon race. The God race had already been removed from the primordial races. Although they were strong in combat, their status was not much different from the 8 demon regions. The emperors of the primordial 5 races stood in the middle. The Hell Witch Emperor and Golden Crow Fire Emperor were among them. Beside the 2 emperors were 3 other emperors. The Thousand Eye Emperor of the Heavenly Eye race. The New Blood Emperor of the Bloodvine race. The Shadowless Emperor of the Rakshasa race. Hierarchy was strict in the primordial races. The Hell Witch Emperor and Golden Crow Fire Emperor comprehended 4 supreme divine powers and were top-tier emperors. Anyone who could stand shoulder to shoulder with them would definitely be similar. The Shadowless Emperor and the other 2 were emperors who had risen in the other 3 races in recent years. They had comprehended 4 supreme divine powers as well. Behind the 5 emperors, there were more than 50 other emperors of the primordial 5 races. The primordial races had accumulated way too much over the years. This lineup was not inferior to the ancient war. This would be an unprecedented battle that would sweep through the entire Tianhuang mainland. The Golden Crow Fire Emperor and the other 4 emperors stood in midair and looked at the army that was gathered in the Middle Continent with excited expressions. If nothing went wrong, the Dragon, Kurin, and Barbarian races would be removed from Tianhuang mainland after this battle. As for them, The primordial five races, they would regain control of Tianhuang mainland and become the overlords of this world. Shadowless Emperor. Right then, a Rakshasa patriarch arrived and knelt down, saying in a deep voice, "The barbarian race's habitat is empty. There's news that the barbarian race has already moved to the Dragon Bone Valley of the North region." "Got it. You may leave." The Shadowless Emperor nodded slightly and glanced sideways at the Golden Crow Fire Emperor and the others. "Everyone, let's go and advance to the North region." The Hell Witch Emperor leaned on his white bone staff and stood in silence, deep in thought. "Hell Witch, what's on your mind?" the Golden Crow Fire Emperor suddenly asked. The Hell Witch Emperor was silent for a moment. "There's something strange about the sudden changes in the dragon, barbarian, and Kuan races. Are you suspecting that this is a trap?" The Golden Crow Fire Emperor burst into laughter. "Don't worry, I've already obtained definite news that the Chen Dragon Emperor is dead. The Chen Dragon Emperor is already dead, and the rest are nothing to fear." The Blood Emperor added, "That's right. The emperors of the dragon, Kuan, and barbarian races suffered immense losses, and the barbarian and Kuan emperors died one after another." The Hell Witch Emperor said, "Almost all the major sects of the human race along the way have been empty. Seems like the human race is prepared to join forces with the dragon race." "Ha ha ha ha." The Golden Crow Fire Emperor roared in laughter. "They're nothing but a bunch of ants. If not for the human emperor's descent at the 10,000 race meet, the human race would have been destroyed 1,000 years ago. In this generation, the human race merely produced a single desolate marshal. However, why did the Sea Dragon Empress and the others suddenly betray the dragon and Kuan races?" The Hell Witch Emperor thought of something else and narrowed his eyes slightly, still puzzled. He continued, "Furthermore, those emperors did not look for us. Where did they go?" "Hell Witch?" The Thousand-Eye Emperor smiled. "You're thinking too much. No matter what, this is a rare opportunity. The dragon, Kuan, and barbarian races are at their weakest. If we don't launch this battle now, when Desolate Marshal's two true bodies grow, will there still be a place for our primordial five races to reside?" "That's right," the Shadowless Emperor said, everyone else aside. "Even the descendants of the Taboo Divine, Ho, will definitely not let us off. Don't forget, the parents of that beast could be considered as having died indirectly in the hands of our ancestors. I wonder what cultivation realm that little beast has reached." The Hell Witch Emperor pondered. "Don't worry," the Golden Crow Fire Emperor said. "He's just an emperor at most and isn't much of a threat to us yet. If he's given more time and grows to his peak, the five of us will become his food. Let's go." The Hell Witch Emperor no longer hesitated and suppressed the many doubts in his heart for the time being. "Go to the North region and destroy the dragon race." There was something else that the Hell Witch Emperor did not say. Even if anything else happened, the witch race have already prepared a killing move. The moment that killing move was released, even the Heavenly Eye and Golden Crow races around him would be destroyed, let alone the dragon, Kuan, and barbarian races. At that time, there was a high chance that the witch race would dominate Tianhuang mainland solo. There was no need for the Hell Witch Emperor and the others to command the army. The Hell Witch Emperor and the others only had to send orders to the clan leaders, and they would lead the army towards the North region. Millions of demon beasts howled through the mountains and plains. Smoke billowed and dust flew all over the place. Everywhere they passed, nothing was left. A massive battle that swept through the entire Tianhuang mainland had finally erupted. 10 days later, the demons at the front had finally entered the North region. The first to charge into the North region was one of the 8 demon regions, Wild Lion Ridge. Wild Lion Ridge belonged to the North region to begin with, and was the most familiar with it. Many demons became extremely excited when they re-entered the North region. Kill. Right then, sword lights tore through the air. Many dermic and spirit weapons descended from the skies, and countless dermic arts weaved an impenetrable trap that enveloped the many demons that charged in. This is the moment for us cultivators to slay demons and fiends. The sect master of Snowdrift Valley descended in midair with a long sword in his hands and pointed at the demons opposite him murderously. Behind him, many cultivators of Snowdrift Valley attacked one after another. At the same time, cultivators of Glass Palace, Sword Sect, Overlord Palace, the Immortal, Buddhist and Fiend sects arrived at the intersection of the North region and Middle Continent. Apart from the super sects, cultivators of the upper sects, aristocratic families, and even some minor sects of Tianhuang mainland were gathered here under the orders of the martial emperor. These few days were enough for the super sects to gather cultivators to face this battle. Without testing the waters, the sect masters of the super sects led an army of cultivators to fight against the demons. This was a life and death battle for the human race. Roar! With the backing of the primordial 5 races, the demons were even more fearless as they charged towards the cultivators at the front with torrential demonic chi. Looking down from the skies, the 2 massive factions collided violently at the intersection of the North and Middle Continent. It was as though 2 massive torrents had collided with a deafening bang. The moment the 2 torrents collided, blood splattered everywhere. Instantly, the world was dyed red by a thick layer of blood, and the air was filled with the stench of blood in an extremely tragic manner. Boom! A golden light descended from the skies and struck the demon beasts heavily, piercing into the earth and causing the surrounding ground to crack. Immediately after, a tall figure descended and thumped his chest, roaring into the skies. Chapter 1710, Rivers of Blood. Chapter 1710, Rivers of Blood. It was a tall and burly ape with thick fur all over its body. Its eyes were bloodshot and white smoke spewed from its nose and mouth with a torrential demonic chi. Monkey had descended, and he was at the peak of the Mahayana realm. It was way too difficult to become an emperor within 1,000 years. Su Zimo was only conferred the title of emperor because the human emperor's Dermic edict gathered the fortune of Tianhuang mainland, and his green lotus true body stole the creation of heaven and earth. Monkey had merely awakened some inheritances from his memories and was not at the level of an emperor yet. Of course, Monkey, who was at the peak of the Mahayana realm, could even fight against some ordinary emperors after releasing his berserk bloodline. Monkey wielded Imminent and descended from the skies, smashing into the demons of Wild Lion Ridge as he thumped his chest and roared. Countless demon beasts were scared out of their wits and did not dare to advance. Roar! A massive spirit tiger burrowed out of the forest. His gigantic figure was even taller than many ancient trees. The most frightening thing was that the spirit tiger's body shone with a blinding power of thunder. Screech! A crane cry sounded from the skies. Ching Ching spread her wings and her body burned with flames, looking down at the world like a fairy in flames. On a mountain peak not far away, a majestic lion reared its head and howled into the skies. Its body shone with a blinding golden light like a blazing sun. On the other side, a boy and a fox stood under the protection of many ethereal peak cultivators. Although they were very far away, if the demon beasts on the other end accidentally made eye contact with the fox, their eyes would turn dull and their minds would be controlled, causing them to switch sides. As for the boy, he merely extended his arm and transformed into a peach blossom tree branch. Waving it in the demon beast crowd, he sent a demon beast flying each time. However, the boy did not kill the entire time. Those two were Tao Yao and Little Fox. More and more demon beasts charged towards the north region. Apart from the demon beasts of Wild Lion Ridge, remnant beasts and ferocious beasts of other demon regions began to surge over as well. The moment Monkey and the others appeared, old demons of the 8 demon regions charged forward to deal with Monkey and the others. Demon Monkey. An old white ape from Thousand Demon Valley glared at Monkey and said sternly, "As an ape, how dare you disobey the orders of the Ape Emperor? You're courting death." What bullshit Ape Emperor? He was scared to the point of kneeling and submitting to the primordial races. Monkey sneered. How dare he claim to be the Emperor with that bit of guts? One day, I'll definitely replace him. How dare you? The white ape old demon glared and said coldly, "An emperor must not be humiliated. Kill." He leaped up and smashed a pitch-black rod towards Monkey's head violently. Get lost. Monkey was not afraid at all, and his blood chi surged. He raised imminent and released streams of golden light as he stomped on the ground to receive the attack. Boom! The two rods collided with a loud bang. A blinding light burst forth from the collision point and spread rapidly. Countless ancient trees were snapped, and the demons retreated as well. The white ape old demon spat out blood and staggered with a terrible expression. He was already injured after a single head-on clash. Monkey's figure fell to the ground rapidly. However, he leaped up once more at an even faster speed and smashed down with imminent without giving the white ape old demon any chance to catch his breath. In Monkey's hands, imminent shone with a golden light that extended dozens of feet and expanded continuously, smashing down like a heavenly piercing divine pillar. The white ape old demon gripped his rod with both hands and took a deep breath, defending upwards. Boom! There was a loud bang. The white ape old demon was smashed into the ground and turned into sludge. His essence spirit was smashed to death by Monkey before it could escape. Monkey's strength increased exponentially after he triggered his berserk bloodline. Although the white ape old demon had been famous for a long time and was also at the peak of the Mahayana realm, he could not defend against the power of Monkey's two-rod strikes and was beaten to a pulp with his essence spirit destroyed. Splash! A flood dragon of the East Sea charged over with a murderous aura. Opening its mouth, it spewed out endless seawater that surged as though it was pouring down all the water of the East Sea. The spirit tiger roared and electric arcs flashed on its body as it charged towards the flood dragon. Flesh and blood splattered on the battlefield. In less than an hour after a battle of this level broke out, the intersection between the North and Middle Continent was already filled with corpses and rivers of blood. Although there were many demon beasts in the 8 demon regions, there were also many human cultivators. Under the lead of the sect masters of the various major sects, they were also a massive force. The human cultivators did not retreat in this battle. As the storyteller had said, the only thing the human race lacked in this generation was a supreme expert like the eternal human emperor. That was the reason why the major sects, factions, immortal, Buddhist, and Fiend sects were in a state of disunity and schemed against one another. But now, this supreme expert had already appeared. 1,000 years ago, the human emperor passed down his title to Desolate Marshal. Over the years, the martial Dao had spread extremely widely in Tianhuang mainland, causing Desolate Marshal's reputation to grow. A few days ago, Desolate Marshal's reputation was at its limits because all the emperors of the human race had submitted to the Martial Emperor. As long as the Martial Emperor had an order, all the cultivators in the world would gather. Although the primordial 5 races gathered the ferocious beasts of the 8 demon regions, they were blocked at the intersection of the North and Middle Continent by various factions of the human race. The long intersection was filled with corpses. The emperors of the demon and primordial races were in no hurry to attack. The battle had just begun, and right now, patriarchs had the highest cultivation realms on the battlefield. In the eyes of the emperors, even patriarchs were ants. There were no emotions in the eyes of the emperors of the primordial races as they looked at the mountain of corpses beneath with indifferent expressions. To think that these ants of the human race would have some tricks up their sleeves. The Golden Crow Fire Emperor smiled with a relaxed expression. The Thousand-Eye Emperor said indifferently, "It's just a futile attempt." The Hell Witch Emperor said, "Seems like the 8 demon regions alone won't be enough to break through the defense of the human ants. We can let the God race attack now." The primordial races wanted the 10,000 races to fight to the death for this battle. That way, even if the primordial 5 races suffered immense losses after the battle, the 10,000 races would suffer even more and would not be a threat to them. There would not be a situation where humans seized the opportunity to rise after the ancient war. The God Race Emperor did not dare to hesitate and ordered the God Clan leader. The God Clan leader led the God Race army and began to charge at the North region's defense line. The inclusion of the God Race experts on the battlefield instantly dealt a huge blow to the defense line of the North region cultivators. The blood chi of the god race was incomparably strong, and almost no cultivator of the same cultivation realm could match them. Although there were not many god race beings, they possessed an extremely terrifying destructive power. The human cultivators began to retreat in defeat. Right then, at the back of the north region, a large black shadow charged over in midair. It was like a black cloud pressing down on a city and surged with an extremely powerful aura. The gigantic army was like a black patch that was massive, filled with different races. However, every single living being exuded an extremely violent aura. The Kunlun race had arrived. Chapter 1711, Battlefield of the Emperors. Chapter 1711, Battlefield of the Emperors. The Kunlun race had lived in the Kunlun ruins for generations. The bloodline of the Kunlun race was made up of many living beings experts of the primordial era. In this generation's Kunlun ruins, there was even a huge battle. Those who could survive were all paragons of the Kunlun race. The responsibility of the Kunlun race was to protect Kunlun and defend against the invasion of the god race. After so many years, the Kunlun race did not have much hatred towards the other primordial races. However, they hated the god race to the core. The Kunlun race charged over and ignored the demon beasts of the 8 demon regions, charging towards the god race with a murderous aura. Even the god race beings present were confused, let alone the demon beasts. Their formations were scattered by the Kunlun race. Many god race beings did not even know where this group of experts came from and why they were being targeted specifically. The reason why the Kunlun race was trapped in the Kunlun ruins for so many years was because of the invasion of the god race and the primordial war. The Kunlun race alone might not be a match for the god race. However, every single Kunlun clansman was extremely ferocious and viewed the god race as mortal foes. A few Kunlun clansmen were enough to make a god race being flustered. Not long after the battle broke out, the god race suffered immense losses. The armies of the 8 demon regions and the god race had just crossed the borders of the north region when they were stopped outside by the combined forces of the human and Kunlun races and could not advance for a long time. Blood Emperor, the Bloodvine clan leader said in a deep voice, "Our clansmen can't hold it in any longer and want to drink the blood and fight. Blood Emperor, please give the order." The clan leaders of the Heavenly Eye, Golden Crow, and Rakshasa races stood out as well. The experts of the primordial 5 races were triggered by the fresh blood before them and were eager with excited expressions. The Golden Crow Fire Emperor and the others exchanged glances and nodded, waving their hands. Go on. Boom. The allied army of the primordial 5 races charged out like hungry tigers. At the same time, many powerful figures sprinted over from the back of the north region. Some of them were dozens of feet tall with bare upper bodies. Their auras were terrifying and they were majestic, striding over like mountains. The barbarian race had arrived. A barbarian ancestor tore through the void and descended from the skies. His gigantic feet stomped on the ground and turned a few demon beasts into sludge as the earth split and trembled. Roar! A resounding dragon roar rang with an endless might that reverberated through the world. All demons fell silent against the dragon roar. Divine dragons appeared on the heads of the barbarian race one after another. They had towering horns, sharp claws, and fangs of different colors. Some of the divine dragons burned with scarlet flames and tore through the air like a fire dragon. Some of the divine dragons were covered in green scales and rode on the clouds. Some of the divine dragons rolled and soared, covering the skies with flying sand. At the front of the dragons was a divine dragon that was thousands of feet long. It had a burning gaze and 5 claws beneath its abdomen with a torrential aura. 5-clawed divine dragon, Long Tsong. Long Tsong possessed the bloodline of a 5-clawed divine dragon. Although he was not an emperor, he had already cultivated to the peak of the Mahayana realm. Among the dragons, there was an illumination dragon. It was Solitary Cloud who had followed Su Zimo into the Dragonbone Valley back then. After all these years, Solitary Cloud had already cultivated to the Mahayana realm. Solitary clouds swayed his tail, and his scarlet dragon tail burned a large number of demon beasts to ashes. Everywhere his tail swept, ruins would appear. Splash! A dark sea appeared behind the dragons and barbarian race. In the seawater, figures that were even larger than the dragon and barbarian race could be vaguely seen swimming over. In the seawater, those figures were filled with an extremely powerful blood chi that could be sensed by many living beings on the battlefield even from 5,000 kilometers away. There was only a single race with that terrifying blood chi and immense life force, the Kuan race. The lifespans of the Kuan race were generally higher than the dragon race. The arrival of the Kuan race caused the auras of the many sea demons from the north, east, and south seas to weaken. The Kuan race was the king of the ocean and was at the peak of all living beings in the ocean. In the ocean, no race could go against it, not even the dragon race. All living beings were food for the Kuan race. After the ancient war, if not for the fact that the Kuan race resided in Beiming, the three oceans would not have been dominated by other living beings. The appearance of the Kuan race caused some living beings of the three oceans to tremble. A giant Kuan opened its mouth and released an extremely terrifying suction force. Many demon beasts of the demon regions could not control their bodies and were devoured by the giant Kuan. The dragon, Kuran, and barbarian races joined forces and fought against the primordial five races at the borders of the North region. Although the primordial five races had many experts, it was not easy to break through the alliance of the dragon, Kuran, and barbarian races. Furthermore, many paragons of the human race stood out as well. For experts like Ming Jian, Demonist Ji, and Extreme Fire, although they were not emperors, they had already cultivated to the peak of the Mahayana realm and could even suppress primordial races of the same cultivation realm. The Hell Witch Emperor, Golden Crow Fire Emperor, and the others stood in the firmaments and looked down at the battlefield with cold expressions. Suddenly, in the depths of the North region, an extremely violent aura burst forth from the direction of the Dragon Bone Valley. Immediately after, a roar sounded. It sounded like a dragon roar, a phoenix cry, piercing through metal and cracking rocks. Even the primordial races present felt their hearts skip a beat when they heard it. That was the sound of the taboo dragon phoenix. The dragon phoenix true body was declaring war against the Hell Witch Emperor, Golden Crow Fire Emperor, and the others. The battlefield of the emperors would not be at this place. The power of the emperors was way too strong and terrifyingly destructive. If the emperors were to fight here, all the living beings below would be drowned by their power and die with them. The emperors of the primordial five races knew that as well. That was the reason why they did not attack here. If they attacked, the emperors of the dragon race would definitely arrive as well. At that time, their clansmen would not be spared in the battle between the emperors. Taboo Dragon Phoenix. The Blood Emperor licked his lips and his eyes lit up as he said excitedly, "I've never tasted a taboo bloodline before. Hee." There was something else that he did not say. If he could refine the bloodline of the taboo dragon phoenix, he might even have a breakthrough. Everyone, let's go. The Golden Crow Fire Emperor smiled gently. Since the taboo dragon phoenix declared war in the Dragon Bone Valley, let's see how many emperors the dragon, Kuran, and barbarian races have left. As long as we kill the taboo, the rest won't be a threat, the Hell Witch Emperor said indifferently. Don't worry, the Shadowless Emperor said in a deep voice. I have definite news on my side that the taboo dragon phoenix has only comprehended a single supreme divine power. He's of no threat to us. Right? We have to be careful of the taboo divine Ho. The Hell Witch Emperor reminded again. There were more than 50 emperors on the side of the primordial five races. There were also 17 emperors of the 8 demon regions. The God race had 8 emperors. Including the 5 top emperors such as the Hell Witch Emperor, there were more than 80 emperors on this side. Throughout history, only the primordial and ancient wars had produced such a massive number of emperors. Chapter 1712, Night Spirits Attack. Chapter 1712, Night Spirits Attack. Dragon Bone Valley. The emperors of the human race, as well as the storyteller and the old dragon of Enigma Palace, were already gathered here. Emperors of the Dragon, Kuan, and Barbarian races had already appeared as well. This was the first time that humans had joined forces with the primordial races since the primordial era. However, be it the emperors of the human race or the dragon, barbarian, and Kuan races, all of them had extremely grim expressions as they looked in the direction of the Middle Continent. They were not worried about the battle between the 10,000 races at the intersection of the North region and the Middle Continent. Even if they were up against the joint forces of the primordial 6 races alongside the 8 demon regions, they could fight. Furthermore, they had a trump card hidden at the borders of the North region. What the emperors were truly worried about was the battle between the emperors. If they lost this battle, even if they won at the intersection of the North region, they would be annihilated. However, they were most likely doomed for the battle between the emperors. The only variable was the martial emperor. Instinctively, the gazes of the emperors landed on Su Zimo. Su Zimo's expression was calm without any fear or worry. That gave the emperors some confidence. However, in reality, Su Zimo had no confidence either. For the past few days, he had been trying to contact the Martial Dao Prime Body. However, there was still no result. The Martial Dao Prime Body seemed to have vanished from Tianhuang mainland without a trace. The Martial Dao Prime Body had encountered a bottleneck. If he could not comprehend it, even if he came out of seclusion in advance, he would not be able to change this battle between emperors. In this battle of the emperors, the difference between both sides was immense. On their side, there were only 5 emperors of the dragon race, including the Dragon Phoenix True Body and Long Ran who had just broken through. 2 emperors of the barbarian race were severely injured and could not participate in the battle. There were only 2 remaining that had combat strength. The Kuan race had a deep foundation. However, they encountered a calamity and 7 emperors died. Right now, there were only 6 Kuan emperors left. There were only 13 emperors of the dragon, barbarian, and Kuan races combined. Because of the existence of the divine power forbidden region, the Kunlun race only left the Kunlun ruins 1,000 years ago and entered the Mahayana realm one after another. In just 1,000 years, there had yet to be a Kunlun emperor. The Kunlun race could not help in the battle of the emperors. Right then, powerful figures appeared one after another not far ahead. There were Rakshasas that could soar through the skies, blood vines that were filled with blood chi, and 3D golden crows that resembled blazing suns. The emperors of the primordial 6 races had arrived. The 5 people in the lead were the Hell Witch Emperor, Golden Crow Fire Emperor, Thousand Eye Emperor, Blood Emperor, and Shadowless Emperor. There were a total of 17 demon emperors surrounding the emperors of the primordial races. When they saw that, the expressions of the storyteller, Long Ran, Yuman Emperor, Shao Kuan Emperor, and the others turned extremely terrible. The difference was too great. There were a total of 5 top emperors on the side of the primordial 6 races. Even compared to the other emperors, the difference was stark. Although there were more than 20 emperors of the human race, there would not be much left after they faced off against the demon emperors of the 8 demon regions. There were more than 50 emperors combined on the side of the primordial 6 races. However, Su Zimo only had 13 emperors on his side. Su Zimo's original plan was for his 2 true bodies to join forces with Night Spirit and attempt to fight against the 5 top emperors, such as the Hell Witch Emperor. But now, he had no choice but to change his plan. The difference in strength between Long Ran and the other emperors of the primordial 6 races was way too great, and they had no chance of winning. Long Ran's side would most likely be defeated before the outcome was decided. Su Zimo said in a deep voice, "I'll join forces with everyone to fight against the other emperors of the primordial 6 races." Su Zimo's choice meant that the Dragon Phoenix True Body would join forces with Night Spirit to fight against the 5 top emperors, such as the Hell Witch Emperor and the others. In that short period of time, the Hell Witch Emperor and the others had already arrived outside the Dragonbone Valley. They stood in midair and looked at Su Zimo's group. Many emperors faced off with unrestrained might. The sea of bones outside the Dragonbone Valley turned into ruins instantly without a peep of sound. Fu-fu-fu. Suddenly, the Golden Crow Fire Emperor laughed. "Desolate Marshal, you've changed quite a bit after not seeing you for 1,000 years. Both your true bodies have become emperors. It's been 1,000 years, but you haven't grown much, Su Zimo said indifferently. Suddenly, the Hell Witch Emperor said, "Desolate Marshal, stop putting on a front. You know in your heart that you guys don't stand a chance of winning this battle. Everyone, listen up. As long as you're willing to swear a Tao oath and submit to us, I can make the decision to spare your lives. In fact, I can even protect your clansmen and inheritance." The Hell Witch Emperor's words seemed to possess a strange magic as his voice sounded slowly. Many emperors were moved when they heard that. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, Su Zimo burst into laughter. The laughter contained a powerful sound domain technique that was sacred and vast like the Sanskrit of the Buddhist monasteries, exploding in everyone's ears. Many emperors were alarmed and snapped out of their stupor. Earlier on, they were almost bewitched by the voice of the Hell Witch Emperor. Thankfully, the martial emperor warned them with Sanskrit in time and shocked them, preventing them from sinking into it. At that thought, the emperors looked terrible and felt a sense of trepidation. The witch race specialized in essence spirits. The Hell Witch Emperor was even more well-versed in that Tao. The fact that he could affect the minds of many emperors present with a single voice was proof of how terrifying his methods were. Both parties were in a standoff, and it seemed like a huge battle was about to break out. However, in reality, the Hell Witch Emperor had already attacked. Just as the Hell Witch Emperor channeled his secret skill and affected the mental states of many cultivators, a crack appeared above the Hell Witch Emperor's head. A pitch-black claw suddenly extended with a dark glint and grabbed the head of the Hell Witch Emperor. There was no warning at all. Although there were many emperors present, none of them noticed that someone was already hidden in the void and suddenly released a fatal attack. The timing of his attack was perfect as well. The Hell Witch Emperor was the most relaxed when he attacked the emperors of the human race. The claw was extremely menacing, and the bones that were revealed resembled molten steel. They were metallic and seemed like they could penetrate everything. What was even more frightening was that the aura released by the claw shocked all the primordial races present. "It's the taboo Divine Ho." The Golden Crow Fire Emperor reacted right away and exclaimed. Only a taboo bloodline could give them such a sense of trepidation. Without hesitation, the Golden Crow Fire Emperor reverted to his true form and spat out a ball of blazing golden flames towards the crack. However, no matter how fast the Golden Crow Fire Emperor reacted, it was already too late. Night Spirit's attack was clearly a calculated attack. He did not choose to attack the Golden Crow Fire Emperor or the other emperors. Instead, he chose the Hell Witch Emperor. Although the Hell Witch Emperor was a top emperor, his physique and bloodline were the weakest among the 5 of them. Night Spirit could not maneuver too long against the encirclement of so many foes. He only had a single chance at best. If he could kill the Hell Witch Emperor, the pressure on him and the Dragon Phoenix true body would be greatly reduced. Chapter 1713, Battle of Emperors. Chapter 1713, Battle of Emperors. Nobody could save the Hell Witch Emperor. Apart from himself, Illusion Dermic Curse. The Hell Witch Emperor did not have time to think as he channeled his essence spirit fanatically and chanted an incantation, releasing a supreme divine power. Typically, the emperors would not use their supreme divine powers casually for a battle of this scale. Firstly, supreme divine powers consumed a lot of essence spirit. Secondly, once a supreme divine power was released, it would be difficult to release it again for a period of time. This also meant that the emperor had lost one of his greatest trump cards. Although the Hell Witch Emperor was a top emperor of the primordial races and his combat strength was equivalent to an emperor of the human race who had comprehended 6 supreme divine powers, in reality, he had only comprehended 4 supreme divine powers. However, this time round, the Hell Witch Emperor had no choice. If he did not release that supreme divine power, he would definitely die. A strange and powerful power emanated from the Hell Witch Emperor's weak body. Under the gazes of the emperors, the Hell Witch Emperor's figure suddenly turned illusory, as though he was hiding in another space and was faintly visible. Swoosh! Night Spirit's claw passed through the Hell Witch Emperor's body, but it was as though it passed through a layer of air. It was flimsy and no blood flowed out. He missed. The Hell Witch Emperor had comprehended 4 supreme divine powers. Although his body and bloodline were weak, his essence spirit was way too strong. The moment Night Spirit attacked, he had already sensed the abnormality. That was the reason why he could release the illusion Dermic curse right away to defend. Night Spirit's attack missed, and more than half of his figure was revealed from the void crack. His long tail swung over like a dark streak of light in the night. His sharp tail pierced into the void where the Hell Witch Emperor was hiding. Poof! The Hell Witch Emperor's figure had already turned into nothingness and vanished. However, fresh blood began to spew from the void. The Hell Witch Emperor was struck by Night Spirit. Unfortunately, the attack missed the Hell Witch Emperor's vitals. Right then, the Golden Crow Fire Emperor's golden flames descended as well. At the same time, the Thousand Eye Emperor, Shadowless Emperor, and Blood Emperor attacked one after another. Night Spirit could only give up on chasing after the Hell Witch Emperor and passed by an Emperor of the God Race in a flash. The God Race Emperor reacted extremely quickly and struck Night Spirit. However, Night Spirit was filled with purple gold scales and had shocking defenses. He ignored the attack of the God Race Emperor and bit down. Bang! Although the God Race Emperor struck Night Spirit, his head was bitten off by Night Spirit and his essence spirit was devoured before it could escape. The innate divine powers that Night Spirit comprehended were methods to strengthen his physique and the Tao of killing, similar to 3 heads, 6 arms, and 6-tusked divine elephant. There would not be any killing techniques. Those were divine powers that could increase one's combat strength. Although Night Spirit could not kill the Hell Witch Emperor with a single attack, the other emperors could not defend against Night Spirit's attacks. Bang! Bang! Night Spirit's movement technique was extremely fast, and he left the battlefield swiftly after killing an emperor of the God Race. The attacks of the Golden Crow Fire Emperor and the others missed. Night Spirit arrived beside the Dragon Phoenix true body and stood shoulder to shoulder with him. He looked at the many emperors opposite him with a cold expression. At the same time, the figure of the Hell Witch Emperor gradually appeared from the void. The Hell Witch Emperor's face was pale and his gaze was cold. There was a shocking hole of blood in his chest. Although the Hell Witch Emperor stopped the blood with a curse of the witch race, the healing speed of the wound was extremely slow. Be it the sharp claws or tail of the divine hoe, they burned with faint purple-gold flames with shocking lethality. It was already not bad that the Hell Witch Emperor could retain his physical body. If it was any other emperor, they would have turned into ashes in a few breaths if Night Spirit pierced their bodies. Before the battle between the emperors even broke out, the Hell Witch Emperor was already injured and an emperor of the God Race was dead. The emperors of the primordial 6 races looked at Night Spirit with a hint of fear. If not for the Hell Witch Emperor and the other top 4 emperors on their side, even their dozens of emperors might not be able to defend against the massacre of the divine hoe. Little beast, how dare you hurt me? The Hell Witch Emperor's expression was dark and his eyes shone with a sinister green glint. Kill him. He waved the bone staff in his hands and hollered. The battle between the emperors broke out. Roar! Without hesitation, the Dragon Phoenix true body reverted to his true form and charged towards the Blood Emperor and the Rakshasa Shadowless Emperor. At the same time, Night Spirit charged forward and fought against the Thousand Eye Emperor and Golden Crow Fire Emperor. The Hell Witch Emperor stood far away and controlled the situation, commanding the emperors of the primordial 6 races. Go and kill the emperors of the Dragon, Kurin, and Barbarian races. Demon emperors of the 8 demon regions, go and fight against the emperors of the human race. Leave those 2 taboos to us. You don't have to worry. Boom, boom, boom. The emperors of both parties attacked one after another, and a deafening bang sounded when their dermic treasures and blood chi collided. Su Zimo released his supreme divine power, 3 heads, 6 arms. He held the human emperor's seal in one hand and the creation Lotus platform in the other. The other palms held dermic treasures obtained from the Yu Emperor and the others in the ancient battlefield. Be it sabers or swords, the 6 arms swung and spun, charging into the crowd. Bang! Bang! Poof! Poof! The few dermic treasures that flew over were sent flying by Su Zimo's Human Emperor's seal and Creation Lotus platform. The emperors at the front were also torn apart by Su Zimo's attacks and fresh blood spewed. However, this was not a one-on-one fight. In this chaotic battle, even if the bodies of some emperors were shattered by Su Zimo, their essence spirits could escape in time. The other emperors would swarm forward and would not give Su Zimo a chance to hunt them down. The Green Lotus True Body had comprehended 2 supreme divine powers. Among the primordial races, emperors who had comprehended 1 and 2 supreme divine powers could not stop him at all. Su Zimo released 3 heads, 6 arms, and charged in all directions, destroying the formation of more than 50 emperors. Among the primordial 6 races, there were a total of 9 emperors who had comprehended 3 supreme divine powers that surrounded Su Zimo. Only emperors of the primordial races who had comprehended 3 supreme divine powers could fight Su Zimo. The 9 emperors of the primordial races even released supreme divine powers in succession before Su Zimo stopped in his tracks as they surrounded him. As for the remaining emperors of the primordial races, they charged towards Long Ran and the others. Long Ran, the Shao Kuan Emperor, the Yuman Emperor, and the other emperors roared as well and reverted to their true forms, charging forward. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere the moment they collided. Long Ran bit an emperor of the Rakshasa race into 2, but before he killed the latter's essence spirit, a 3D golden crow swooped down and tore off a piece of flesh with dragon scales from his body. The moment the Yuman Emperor punched the body of an emperor of the Heavenly Eye race, a blood vine with countless spikes coiled around and restricted his figure. There were even emperors of the witch race who attacked his essence spirit. The Yuman Emperor's face was pale, and he was almost cursed to death by an essence spirit secret skill. Chapter 1714, Peng Carefree. Chapter 1714, Peng Carefree. On the other side of the battlefield, although there were only 7 emperors fighting, none of them dared to approach. The 2 taboos of the Dragon Phoenix True Body and the Divine Ho Knight Spirit faced the 5 top emperors, the Hell Witch Emperor and the others. Night Spirit was up against the Heavenly Eye Emperor and Golden Crow Fire Emperor. The Golden Crow Fire Emperor had 4 supreme divine powers to refine his body and bloodline. After transforming into his true form, he was not disadvantaged against Night Spirit in melee combat. Night Spirit was fast, but the Golden Crow Fire Emperor's movement technique was not slow either. After all, Night Spirit had only comprehended a single supreme divine power. Although their cultivation realms were the same, the difference in their levels was way too great. If it was a one-on-one fight, the outcome would be indeterminate. But now, the 2 top emperors, the Golden Crow Fire Emperor and the Thousand Eye Emperor, had the upper hand and suppressed Night Spirit completely. More importantly, the Hell Witch Emperor was outside the battlefield and could attack at any moment. If the Hell Witch Emperor were to attack, it would definitely be a thunderous attack. Night Spirit had to focus half of his attention on the Hell Witch Emperor. With that, it was even more difficult for Night Spirit to defend against the attacks of the Golden Crow Fire Emperor and Thousand Eye Emperor. However, Night Spirit possessed the bloodline of the Divine Ho, and his almost instinctive killing methods left many wounds on the Golden Crow Fire Emperor and Thousand Eye Emperor. Only, those injuries were nothing to both parties. On the other side, the situation of the Dragon Phoenix True Body was not optimistic either. The Dragon Phoenix True Body had only comprehended a single supreme divine power. Even with a 6-fold increase in strength, he could not compare to the Blood Emperor and Shadowless Emperor. Of course, the Dragon Phoenix True Body had his own strength. Although the Shadowless Emperor was fast as a Rakshasa, the Dragon Phoenix True Body had the Dragon Phoenix Wings and Rock Golden Wings, and was not slow either. Both parties fought with speed in midair, turning into 2 beams of light that chased after one another and were almost invisible. Many lights, runes, and forces collided in midair. The void trembled and cracks appeared. However, fresh blood splattered continuously. The Blood Emperor transformed into his true form, and 1,000 blood vines with spikes tore through the air. They were densely packed like anacondas and were menacing and bloodthirsty, wanting to coil around the Dragon Phoenix true body. However, the innate divine power of the Dragon Phoenix true body, the Dragon Phoenix flames, was extremely terrifying and burned everything. The blood vines coiled around and were burned to ashes by the Dragon Phoenix flames in a few breaths. Hee hee. The Blood Emperor sneered with a mocking expression. Dragon Phoenix, let's see how long more your flames can last. Although the blood vines were burned, a large amount of filthy blood spewed out from them and splattered on the Dragon Phoenix true body. Each time the filthy blood splattered, the Dragon Phoenix flames would weaken by a fraction. Furthermore, the blood vines seemed endless. In that short period of time, the Dragon Phoenix flames had already burned hundreds of them, but the blood vines were still regenerating continuously. Do you think that you're the only one who comprehended everlasting vitality? The Blood Emperor smiled smugly. The Dragon Phoenix true body had a grim expression. If this continued, his movement speed would be restricted once the Dragon Phoenix flames were extinguished, or his strength would be so weak that he could not burn the blood vines. At that time, he would not be able to defend against the Shadowless Emperor's attacks. However, there was almost no solution to everything. The burst power of the Dragon Phoenix true body was shocking, and he had many killing methods. However, he could not exhaust the Blood Emperor, who had comprehended 4 supreme divine powers and possessed everlasting vitality. More importantly, right from the beginning, the Hell Witch Emperor had not truly released his killing move. He was only searching for openings in the outer perimeter to test the waters. Once the Hell Witch Emperor attacked, the Dragon Phoenix true body and Night Spirit would definitely be in danger. Even if the Green Lotus true body joined forces with the Dragon Phoenix true body and Night Spirit according to the original plan, they would not have much of a chance of winning. North Region Border. The 10,000 races fought against one another. Although there were no emperors on the battlefield, the situation was even more tragic. Corpses were strewn all over the borders and blood flowed everywhere. Every single collision would leave countless corpses on the ground. The human, dragon, barbarian, Kurin, and Kunlun races defended the North Region defense line tightly. However, the experts of the Primordial 6 races and the 8 demon regions were way too many. The humans and dragons began to retreat. Among the human race, Ming Jian, Demoness Ji, and even some monster incarnates of the younger generation such as Baiming Shui could not defend against the attacks of the Primordial 6 races. As a 5-clawed divine dragon, Long Tsong was already covered in injuries from the encirclement of the experts of the Primordial 6 races. Earlier on, he was almost beheaded and killed by the God race. The combined forces of the Primordial 6 races pushed their advantage to its limits. Relying on their powerful physiques and bloodlines, the God race charged at the front and fought against the Kunlun, barbarian, and dragon races. In midair, the Golden Crow and Rakshasa races joined forces and restricted the energy of the Kunlun and dragon races. As for the Bloodvine race, they took root at the borders of the North Region and transformed into countless blood vines, almost forming a vast blood sea. Countless living beings would die as the gigantic blood vines swept across the battlefield. As for the Heavenly Eye and Witch races, they stood far away and released visual techniques and incantations continuously, causing immense lethality to the human race. The physique of the barbarian race was domineering and invincible among the primordial 9 races. However, the weakness of the barbarian race was extremely obvious: their essence spirits. The many methods of the witch race were killing techniques targeted at the essence spirit. If the two of them were to fight in melee combat, the witch race naturally had no chance of winning. However, in the battle of the 10,000 races, it was impossible for the barbarian race to break through the layers of obstacles and arrive before the witch race. That way, the witch race could release essence spirit secret incantations and secret skills without any restraints. Up till this point of the battle, the The barbarian race had suffered immense losses, and there was almost no chance for them to survive the descent of the witch race's dermic arts. This can't go on. I can't hold on any longer. Even with Lin Xuanji's lazy personality, he was getting anxious at the moment. On the battlefield, Baiming Shui wielded her sword and had just killed a god race patriarch. Suddenly, she retreated and turned to look at a black-robed youth beside her. "Junior brother, you can attack now." Baiming Shui's junior brother was Carefree, the taboo Kuan Peng. Carefree's injuries had long healed with the help of the primordial divine spring. When the battle broke out, Carefree hid in the crowd and followed Baiming Shui like an ordinary human without revealing his identity. At that time, with so many emperors of the primordial races present, Carefree would have been killed the moment he revealed his bloodline. Therefore, Carefree had always followed Baiming Shui in his human form and fought on the battlefield without exposing his bloodline and identity. Now that the emperors had left, the intense energy fluctuation from the Dragon Bone Valley proved that the battle between the emperors had broken out. There were no emperors that could threaten Carefree here. All right. When he heard Baiming Shui's words, Carefree released his blood chi without hesitation and roared into the skies. Boom, boom, boom. A deafening sound of a tsunami burst forth. In the skies above the border of the North region, Carefree leaped up and charged towards the camp of the primordial six races. A series of explosions sounded from his body and his blood chi surged. You must have a death wish. When they saw Carefree charging over, experts of the primordial races welcomed him. The patriarchs of the God, Golden Crow, Heavenly Eye, and even the witch race attacked one after another. Instantly, dozens of attacks surged towards Carefree, who was in midair. Chapter 17:15 Arrival of the Asura. Chapter 17:15 Arrival of the Asura. Suddenly, a dark sea appeared and Carefree's seemingly frail figure vanished. In his place was a massive creature that was thousands of kilometers long and covered the skies. It emitted an extremely terrifying aura and looked like a gigantic Kuan. That's a Kuan ancestor. However, how can the power in the Kuan ancestor's body be so strong? Even I feel my heart skip a beat as though a calamity is about to descend. Many patriarchs of the primordial races frowned and glared at Carefree with bewildered expressions. This giant Kuan was even larger than the other Kuan ancestors. Furthermore, it looked different. Only this giant Kuan was way too big. Even when the many experts looked up, they could not see its full appearance in a short period of time and could not make out anything. Suddenly, the giant Kuan opened its mouth and released an extremely terrifying suction force. There were dermic treasures, divine powers, secret skills, and incantations among the dozens of attacks. Some of the dermic arts were torn apart by the tremendous suction force in midair. All the other dermic treasures and divine powers were devoured by that bottomless mouth. Pissed. Many experts gasped and their expressions changed. The moment the massive object descended, seawater filled the air with a rampant might, and the entire battlefield at the border of the North region froze for a moment. Suddenly, the tail of the giant Kuan whipped down viciously, and a huge shadow shrouded down, as though the skies were collapsing. Many experts were shocked and retreated hurriedly. Bang! A deafening bang that shook the heavens and earth sounded. The tail of the giant Kuan smashed onto the ground, turning countless experts of the primordial races into sludge without a corpse. After the tail of the giant Kuan was raised, a large empty area appeared in the camp of the primordial six races. The experts who were initially standing there and wanted to fight head-on were slapped to death and their essence spirits were destroyed. What's going on? This giant Kuan is clearly only at the ancestor realm. Why is its strength so terrifying? Could it be? Just as many experts of the primordial races were guessing, the giant Kuan's figure suddenly turned blurry. Immediately after, the massive object disappeared before everyone. Screech. Immediately after, a sharp and ear-piercing screech sounded. Many experts of the primordial races looked up and saw a golden rock with a body full of golden feathers flapping its wings in the firmaments. It shuttled through the stratosphere, and its wings were like clouds that draped down from the heavens, enveloping the surroundings in a bedazzling manner. Earlier on, some of the Rakshasa and Golden Crow races escaped from the tail of the giant Kuin and arrived in midair. However, they bumped right into the Golden Rock. The Golden Rock flapped its wings and transformed into a blinding golden streak of light, passing through the experts of the Rakshasa and Golden Crow races. Poof! Poof! Those experts were sliced into two by the Golden Rock, and their blood stained the firmaments. Some of the 3D Golden Crows were held down by the sharp claws of the Golden Rock and could not resist at all, looking like chicks that were carried in one's palm. Although the Rakshasa race was fast, they were far inferior to the Golden Rock and could not escape at all. The Golden Rock galloped in midair, and its sharp claws flashed. Each time, a Rakshasa expert's head would definitely be pierced and his essence spirit would be destroyed. Kuin Peng. It's the taboo Kuin Peng. It was only then that the experts of the primordial races reacted, and a series of roars burst forth from the crowd. Carefree transformed into a giant Kuin at times, and a rock at others. He roamed the battlefield and released extremely ferocious attacks, unleashing the combat strength of a taboo completely. After his injuries healed a few days ago, Carefree had already entered the Mahayana realm. Although he was at the early stage Mahayana realm, he could kill mid-stage or even late-stage Mahayana patriarchs of the primordial races with ease. Only patriarchs of the primordial races at the peak of the Mahayana realm could fight Carefree if they joined forces. The descent of the taboo Kuin Peng reversed the situation at the border of the North region instantly. The morale of the humans, dragons, Kurin, barbarian, and Kunlun races was boosted as they began to counterattack. After charging for a while, Lin Xuanji retreated from the front and took out a few elixirs to consume, panting slightly. He looked in the direction of the Dragon Bone Valley without feeling any bit of relief. The situation in the North region had already begun to gain an advantage with the protection of the taboo Kuin Peng. However, the true deciding factor of the battle was still the fight between the emperors of the Dragon Bone Valley. If Su Zimo and the others were defeated, it would be useless even if they won the battle at the border of the North region. Dragon Bone Valley. The battle between the emperors was getting more intense. Many emperors were already filled with injuries and did not have excess dermic powers to repair themselves in such an intense battle. On the side of the Dragon Phoenix True Body, the Golden Crow Fire Emperor and the other emperors of the primordial races had the upper hand the entire time and suppressed him and Night Spirit. However, the two taboos could still hold on thanks to their powerful physiques and bloodlines. On the side of the Green Lotus True Body, he fought against 9 emperors of the primordial races who had comprehended 3 supreme divine powers single-handedly thanks to 3 heads, 6 arms. This was also a stalemate. After fighting for so long, Su Zimo still did not have the chance to kill an emperor completely. The Green Lotus True Body had comprehended 2 supreme divine powers and could kill the emperors that surrounded him easily in a one-on-one battle. However, against the combined forces of 9 emperors of the primordial races, Su Zimo could only barely protect himself. During this period of time, he relied on the might of the human emperor's seal and smashed the bodies of a few emperors into pieces countless times. However, he would be stopped by the other emperors before long and could only watch helplessly as their essence spirits escaped. They would undergo blood rebirth to reconstruct their bodies before charging forward once more. Of course, the power of the Green Lotus True Body with everlasting vitality was almost limitless. Even with the combined forces of the 9 emperors of the primordial races, it was difficult for them to kill him. Be it the Dragon Phoenix True Body or the Green Lotus True Body, they could ensure that they would not be defeated. However, the situation on the side of Long Ran and the emperors of the human race was already precarious. Because of the previous calamity, the dragon, Kuin, and barbarian races suffered immense losses and only had few emperors. They could no longer hold out against the encirclement of dozens of emperors of the primordial 6 races. At this point of the battle, a barbarian emperor and 2 Kuin emperors had already died. The other emperors, such as Long Ran and the others, were covered in injuries as well. There were less than 10 emperors left among the three races. Even with the storyteller's help, they were already losing ground and were about to collapse completely. Right then, a shuddering aura descended. Apart from the Hell Witch Emperor and the other top emperors, everyone felt a sense of pressure. Not far away, a white-haired man walked over slowly with an expressionless face. He dragged a pitch-black saber in his hands, and the blade slid through the void, splitting it silently. The white-haired man's eyes were dull and emotionless. He exuded a rumbling fiend chi and countless negative emotions. A moment ago, the white-haired man was still far away. However, in the blink of an eye, he arrived in the middle of the battlefield. Swoosh! The white-haired man attacked, and his fiend saber tore through the air. A torrential hatred descended and enveloped more than 10 emperors of the primordial races. The Asura had arrived. Chapter 1716, Endless Hatred. Chapter 1716, Endless Hatred. You must have a death wish. The primordial races attacked one after another as well, channeling their blood chi, essence spirits, and dermic treasures to charge towards the Asura Yen Beichen's hatred fiend saber. Cling, clang. The sound of metal clashing echoed in an ear-piercing manner as sparks flew. At least half of the dermic treasures were slashed by the hatred fiend saber one after another. The other dermic treasures tore through the defense of the hatred fiend saber and charged towards Yen Beichen. Yen Beichen was expressionless, as though he could not sense the threat of those dermic treasures. The saber beam shifted, and the hatred fiend saber slashed towards an emperor of the Rakshasa race with rumbling fiend chi. Teleportation. The Rakshasa emperor released his supreme divine power and teleported, disappearing from the spot and reappearing in another void. However, the moment the Rakshasa emperor appeared, the hatred fiend saber slashed down. It was as though the hatred fiend saber had arrived instantly as well. Before the Rakshasa emperor could release his second supreme divine power, he was killed on the spot by the hatred fiend saber, and his essence spirit could not escape. Up till this point of the battle, apart from the God Race Emperor that was killed by Night Spirit at the start of the battle, the human race had only managed to kill 2 other emperors. To think that Yen Beichen would kill an emperor of the Rakshasa race who had comprehended 3 supreme divine powers with 2 slashes the moment he arrived. It was clear how terrifying the Asura was. Of course, when Yen Beichen killed the Rakshasa emperor, he was struck by many dermic treasures as well. Blood mists burst forth and his body was almost shattered. However, there were still no emotions on Yen Beichen's face, as though he could not feel any pain. His eyes were filled with endless hatred. Accompanied by that hatred, the fiend chi in Yen Beichen's body intensified and increased, surging out continuously to repair his wounds. The hatred fiend saber buzzed and trembled in his palm in an extremely excited manner. It's the hatred saber. An emperor of the witch race's expression changed starkly as he said sternly, he inherited the legacy of the fiend emperor hatred. Yen Beichen was extremely notorious in the cultivation world. However, he was almost unknown among the primordial 9 races. Furthermore, everyone present were emperors of the primordial races. In the hearts of the emperors of the primordial races, Desolate Marshal was the only one in the human race that they valued. Even if they had heard of Yen Beichen's name, they did not take it to heart. However, the words Fiend Emperor Hatred caused the expressions of many emperors of the primordial races to change. In the ancient books of the primordial races, it was clearly recorded that although the eternal human emperor was the strongest and invincible in the ancient war, he was not the one who killed the most of the primordial races. It was the Fiend Emperor Hatred. According to the ancient books, the Fiend Emperor Hatred created a supreme divine power that allowed himself to fall into a state of hatred intent. The deeper the hatred, the stronger the power, and it was almost endless without any pain or fatigue. Back then, if not for the fact that the Fiend Emperor Hatred fell into the hatred intent and could not extricate himself, resulting in his painful suicide, countless primordial races would have died. Right now, Yen Beichen was clearly within the hatred intent. The person before them was practically the second Fiend Emperor hatred. None of those primordial races knew that although Yin Beichen's combat strength could not compare to the Fiend Emperor hatred at his peak, he had inherited the legacy of two Fiend sects, and his future accomplishments might even be above the Fiend Emperor hatred. For the past 1,000 years, Yin Beichen had never entered the ancient battlefield. However, he still managed to become an emperor. All the divine powers he comprehended were within the hatred Fiend saber. Right now, he had already comprehended two supreme divine powers and was in the hatred intent realm. His combat strength rose continuously, and he could even kill emperors of the primordial races who had comprehended three supreme divine powers. In his battle, when Su Zimo saw that Yin Beichen was fine, a part of him was finally relieved. He had not seen Yin Beichen since the 10,000 race meet. To think that when Yin Beichen returned, he was already an emperor and his combat strength was so terrifying. Kill him. An emperor of the Heavenly Eye race hollered, and the Heavenly Eye on his glabella opened, releasing a supreme divine power. The primordial races had already sensed how terrifying Yin Beichen was and did not want to give him too many chances. At the same time, the other emperors of the primordial races attacked one after another as well. They did not dare to hold back and release supreme divine powers at Yin Beichen. When the storyteller, Long Ran, and the others saw that the situation was going south, they hurried forward and attacked with all their might. Yin Beichen gripped his saber with both hands, as though he could not see the many supreme divine powers released before him, and fell into immense sadness and pain. Green veins popped up on his neck, and his features contorted. Against that immense hatred, most of the emperors present were affected. Some emperors of the primordial races who had only comprehended a single supreme divine power could not even control their mental states. When Yin Beichen was sad, the emperors of the primordial races were sad as well. When Yin Beichen was filled with hatred, the emperors of the primordial races felt hatred as well. In fact, some emperors of the primordial races were even affected by Yin Beichen emotionally. Fiend Qi rumbled continuously within Yin Beichen's body, and an extremely powerful divine power spread out. Longevity is limited by time. As though he had already forgotten where he was, Yin Beichen murmured softly with longing, sadness, pain, and endless hatred in his eyes. He looked at the void in front of him and gripped the hatred Fiend saber with both hands, slashing down slowly as he murmured, "But this hatred shall be endless." After saying that, the hatred Fiend saber in Yin Beichen's palm seemed to have vanished. Immediately after, boundless pitch-black Fiend Qi condensed into endless saber beams that shuttled through the battlefield. Boom, boom, boom. The saber beams collided with the incoming supreme divine powers and let out a loud bang with a terrifying might. His hatred was like a saber, and it was endless. The supreme divine power of an emperor of the god race was shattered by a saber beam. Immediately after, the saber beam slashed down with endless hatred. In just a few breaths, the god race emperor was drowned by the endless saber lights and turned into a blood mist. Not only was the life force of every single drop of blood destroyed, his essence spirit was destroyed on the spot as well. The physique of the god race was extremely strong and could even take on Dermic treasures head-on. However, it was turned into a blood mist by the endless saber light condensed by hatred. Against the attacks of many emperors of the primordial races, Yin Beichen released his supreme divine power and channeled his killing power to its limits, killing another person. When Yin Beichen attacked, he single-handedly stopped the decline of the storyteller, Long Ran, and the other emperors, stabilizing the situation immediately. To think that apart from Desolate Marshal, there would be such a monster incarnate in the human race. If Desolate Marshal is comparable to the human emperor, that person is almost like the Fiend Emperor hatred back then. Many emperors of the primordial races were secretly alarmed. Thankfully, they had launched this battle in time. If this had dragged on and Desolate Marshal and the Asura grew further, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Chapter 1717, Essence Spirit Fight. Chapter 1717, Essence Spirit Fight. The situation in the Battle of the Emperors changed rapidly. Initially, the primordial six races had the advantage. However, the appearance of the Asura, Yin Beichen, boosted the morale of the emperors of the human race. Instead, the emperors of the primordial six races died one after another. The Hell Witch Emperor had a dark expression and looked at Yin Beichen with killing intent. Initially, he did not care about the fight over there, and merely wanted to find an opportunity to kill the two taboos. However, at that moment, the Hell Witch Emperor decided to attack and kill the Asura Yin Beichen first. Spirit Slaying Curse. The Hell Witch Emperor secretly conjured a secret skill and channeled his spirit consciousness, prepared to release an Essence Spirit secret skill to kill Yin Beichen. The Spirit Slaying Curse was a killing technique targeted at the Essence Spirit and would descend directly into Yin Beichen's consciousness. Given the combat strength of the Hell Witch Emperor, Yin Beichen would definitely die once the Essence Spirit secret skill was formed. Although the Dragon Phoenix True Body was fighting the Blood Emperor and Shadowless Emperor, he had been paying attention to the Hell Witch Emperor. At that moment, when he sensed the spirit consciousness fluctuation in the void, the Dragon Phoenix True Body guessed the Hell Witch Emperor's intentions right away. Reverse Scale. The Dragon Phoenix True Body activated his Essence Spirit secret skill without hesitation. In his consciousness, his massive spirit consciousness compressed and condensed continuously. A scarlet scale the size of a palm floated out from his glabella and flew towards the Hell Witch Emperor. The Hell Witch Emperor's expression changed. The witch race cultivated essence spirits, and his comprehension of the essence spirit Tao was even more shocking. He could naturally sense the terrifying aura released by the scale. What essence spirit secret skill is that? Even I feel my heart skip a beat. The Hell Witch Emperor did not dare to be careless and gave up on killing Yin Beichen for the time being, looking at the scarlet scale that flew over not far away. Blood Emperor, Shadowless Emperor, there's something strange about that Essence Spirit secret skill. Let's attack at the same time. The Hell Witch Emperor sent a voice transmission hurriedly. Although the Hell Witch Emperor did not know the origin and might of the reverse scale, he could sense a hint of danger. Of course, he was confident that he could defend against the Essence Spirit secret skill of the Dragon Phoenix True Body. However, he could not guarantee that his Essence Spirit would not be injured. He did not dare to take the risk. However, if the three emperors attacked at the same time, it did not matter if the reverse scale was special. In terms of cultivation realm, they were far superior to the Dragon Phoenix True Body. No matter how strong the essence spirit of the taboo Dragon Phoenix was, it could not defend against the combined attack of the three of them. The Blood Emperor and Shadowless Emperor did not hesitate when they heard the Hell Witch Emperor's voice transmission. The two emperors could sense how terrifying the reverse scale was as well. Bloodthirsty Arrow. A massive blood-colored spirit consciousness gathered on the Blood Emperor's glabella and formed a blood arrow in the blink of an eye, piercing towards the reverse scale. A cold beam of light burst forth from the Shadowless Emperor's glabella like a sharp, curved saber. It drew a beautiful arc and sliced towards the reverse scale. The Hell Witch Emperor did not dare to be careless either. He condensed a dark green skull that emitted an evil aura and devoured the reverse scale. Three Essence Spirit secret skills descended at the same time. Almost at the same time, the three Essence Spirit secret skills collided against the reverse scale. There was no earth-shaking sound, and the entire process was silent. It was like the sound of death. However, the void where the four Essence Spirit secret skills collided caved in inch by inch. A terrifying aura spread, and even the emperors in the distance felt their hearts skip a beat as they turned to look. For powerful spirit consciousnesses collided and devoured in midair. Cracks appeared on the reverse scale, and it collapsed before long. The other three Essence Spirit secret skills could not withstand it either and dissipated. Ugh! The Blood Emperor and Shadowless Emperor shuddered, and their expressions changed. The three of them joined forces and collided against the seemingly ordinary scale. However, both their essence spirits felt a sharp pain and were almost injured. One could imagine that their essence spirits would definitely be severely injured if they fought the Dragon Phoenix true body's essence spirit alone. The two emperors exchanged glances and felt a sense of trepidation. Anyone who touches the reverse scale of a dragon will die. The eyes of the Hell Witch Emperor shone brightly as he murmured, "I see." He had extremely deep attainments in his essence spirit and had already sensed the secret behind the reverse scale after fighting it once. Unfortunately, no matter how strong the reverse scale was, there was a limit to its strength. The essence spirit secret skills released by the three top emperors had already surpassed that limit. The Dragon Phoenix true body frowned slightly as well and grunted. As though he was struck by lightning, his consciousness even went blank for a moment. The first to react was the Hell Witch Emperor. An opportunity. This was the moment he was waiting for outside the battlefield. Sensing the situation of the Dragon Phoenix true body, his gaze intensified and he released a supreme divine power without hesitation. Everlasting Curse. The Hell Witch Emperor chanted an obscure incantation, and his finger drew a circle in midair before touching his glabella. The Everlasting Curse was the most evil and terrifying curse of the witch race that targeted the essence spirit. Once immersed in it, not only would one die, their bloodline, descendants would be affected by the curse for all eternity. It was extremely vile. One would sink into eternal damnation the moment the curse landed. 1,000 years ago, at the 10,000 race meet, the Hell Witch Emperor released this supreme divine power against the eternal human emperor. However, it was destroyed by the eternal human emperor's divine powers. In Tianhuang mainland, there were almost no supreme divine powers that could dispel the everlasting curse. Divine powers dissolution was something that the eternal human emperor comprehended in the upper world. The reverse scale of the Dragon Phoenix true body was already released, and the Hell Witch Emperor believed that his everlasting curse would definitely kill the Dragon Phoenix true body. Not only that, the curse would even sever the bloodline of the taboo Dragon Phoenix in Tianhuang mainland completely. Anyone with the Dragon Phoenix bloodline would be cursed. He was ruthless. The Dragon Phoenix true body stood in midair, and an endless dark green power suddenly surged into his consciousness. It was extremely evil and increased, wanting to devour the Dragon Phoenix essence spirit. However, the moment the dark green power of the curse appeared in the consciousness of the Dragon Phoenix true body, it encountered unlimited attacks. The consciousness of the Dragon Phoenix true body was like a paradise for demon kings. On the vast land, the Wild Bovine Demon King, Sanguine Ape Demon King, Divine Elephant Demon King, and the other demon kings were enraged when they sensed the invasion of external forces and roared. In the middle of the continent was a deep and dark ocean. Suddenly, raging tides surged in the ocean. The desolate ocean dragon king burst forth and endless seawater poured down, washing away the power of the curse in the consciousness. In the desolate sea, the spirit turtle appeared with a deep gaze. Above the firmaments, a golden rock streaked down and bit the power of the curse in the consciousness. Without the Dragon Phoenix true body controlling it, the 11 demon kings protected their master automatically when they felt threatened and fought against the incoming curse power. By the time the curse of the supreme divine power broke through the defense of the 11 demon kings, its power had already decreased by more than half. Chapter 1718, Reappearance of the Blood Face. Chapter 1718, Reappearance of the Blood Face. The power of the curse had already dimmed significantly, and its color had turned much lighter. However, this was a supreme divine power after all. The remaining power of the curse gathered rapidly and formed a ghastly green ball of light in the blink of an eye. The ball of light was like the eyeball of the Hell Witch Emperor as it glared at the Dragon Phoenix true body not far away with a cruel gaze. At that moment, the everlasting curse had already broken through the obstruction of the 11 demon kings. There was no longer any power that could stop it from killing the Dragon Phoenix essence spirit. Its strength had already weakened significantly. However, even if it could not kill the Dragon Phoenix essence spirit directly, it was enough to severely injure it. Whoosh! The ghastly green ball of light smashed towards the Dragon Phoenix Essence Spirit. Slash. The Dragon Phoenix Essence Spirit suddenly opened its eyes. Just as the ghastly green ball of light was about to hit it, it suddenly retreated and hid behind a blazing ball of light not far away in a flash. A ball of light hovered beside the Dragon Phoenix Essence Spirit. This was the final inheritance of the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness in his consciousness. If nothing went wrong, the 12th demon king would appear after the ball of light shattered, and he would obtain the final divine power of the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness. If he could comprehend that divine power, his combat strength would definitely increase exponentially, and there was a chance he could change the direction of the battle. Actually, the moment the everlasting curse broke through the obstruction of the 11 demon kings, the Dragon Phoenix true body had already regained his consciousness. His essence spirit could have left his body completely and avoided the power of the everlasting curse. However, he did not do that. In a flash, a crazy thought crossed the Dragon Phoenix true body's mind. He wanted to make use of the power of the everlasting curse to shatter the final inheritance ball of the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness in his consciousness. Boom! Indeed, the ghastly green ball of light formed by the everlasting curse collided against the inheritance ball of light. The Dragon Phoenix essence spirit was nervous as it watched everything intently, waiting for the final outcome. Buzz! Buzz! The two balls of light collided, and as though they were agitated, divine lights burst forth and pierced the ghastly green ball of light. In the blink of an eye, the ball of light from the everlasting curse was riddled with holes and green smoke billowed. The two powers collided, and the everlasting curse was completely crushed. The Dragon Phoenix essence spirit was dumbfounded. In the blink of an eye, the ball of light from the everlasting curse was completely refined, leaving only green smoke that floated in his consciousness and disappeared before long. As for the inheritance ball of light, it showed no signs of shattering and returned to normal. Although the everlasting curse was almost perfectly resolved by the ball of light, a hint of disappointment flashed through the Dragon Phoenix true body's eyes. To think that it did not manage to succeed? The Dragon Phoenix true body frowned slightly and thought to himself, could it be that this ball of light will only shatter and leave behind its inheritance after I attempt tribulation transcendence? That thought flashed through his mind, and the Dragon Phoenix true body did not think too much about it. Daiyu might have her reasons for leaving such an arrangement. There was no need to force things and let nature take its course. When the Dragon Phoenix true body regained consciousness, his eyes could not help but reveal a look of disappointment. However, the Hell Witch Emperor was already stunned. The Hell Witch Emperor widened his eyes and looked at the Dragon Phoenix true body in disbelief. His everlasting curse was released, but it could not kill the Dragon Phoenix essence spirit. The Hell Witch Emperor could not sense everything that happened in the consciousness. He could not understand how the Dragon Phoenix true body could dispel his everlasting curse after merely comprehending a single six-tusk divine strength. What stunned him the most was that the Dragon Phoenix true body was actually disappointed after surviving his supreme divine power. The Blood Emperor and Shadowless Emperor relaxed slightly when they sensed the everlasting curse released by the Hell Witch Emperor and thought that the Dragon Phoenix true body would definitely die. However, the Dragon Phoenix true body had already woken up. "You guys, be careful," the Hell Witch Emperor suddenly shrieked. In a flash, the Dragon Phoenix true body arrived before the Blood Emperor and grabbed his blood vine stem. The essence spirit of the blood vine race was hidden in the blood vine stem. At the same time, the Dragon Phoenix true body channeled his essence spirit and condensed a gray saber in one of his Dragon Phoenix claws, slashing towards the Shadowless Emperor not far away. The greater divine power, time is like a saber. The Blood Emperor's reaction was extremely fast as he waved many blood vines and coiled towards the Dragon Phoenix true body, tearing a large piece of it apart. Taking advantage of that delay, the Blood Emperor channeled his essence spirit and condensed a supreme divine power. Hell Blood Shield. A gigantic blood shield formed above the Blood Emperor's head like a mirror. The surface of the mirror shimmered with a strange glow. Blood Refinement Fiend Sutra. The Dragon Phoenix True Body's heart skipped a beat. The Blood Emperor had also cultivated the Blood Refinement Fiend Sutra. At that moment, the Dragon Phoenix True Body finally confirmed something. The sudden rise of the Blood Emperor, Shadowless Emperor, and Thousand Eye Emperor was definitely not a coincidence. Even the emperors of the primordial races had the blood face backing them. Boom! The sharp claws of the Dragon Phoenix True Body collided heavily against the Hell Blood Shield and let out a loud bang, causing endless blood to splash everywhere. Although it was still the same Hell Blood Shield, the defense of the Blood Emperor's Blood Shield was way too strong. It was not something that the Yu Emperor and the others could compare with. Even after he channeled the Six-Tusked Divine Strength, the Dragon Phoenix True Body could not puncture the Blood Shield. The Dragon Phoenix True Body soared into the air, and the surface of the Blood Shield returned to normal. Suddenly, a ripple appeared on the surface of the Blood Shield, and a strange blood face appeared, grinning sinisterly at the Dragon Phoenix True Body. Pissed. A chill ran down the spine of the Dragon Phoenix True Body, and his hairs stood on end. By the time he focused his gaze, the surface of the Blood Shield had returned to normal and the blood face had already vanished, as though everything earlier on was a hallucination of the Dragon Phoenix True Body. On the other side, the Shadowless Emperor could not help but smirk coldly when he saw a gray saber slashing down at him. To him, it was merely a greater divine power. Although the aura released by the gray saber was strange, greater divine powers posed no threat to him. He could crush it with a single swipe. Seems like the taboo Dragon Phoenix is at his limits. The Shadowless Emperor sneered with a mocking expression and reached out to grab the gray saber. The Hell Witch Emperor's attention was on the Blood Emperor earlier on. The Hell Blood Shield conjured by the Blood Emperor gave him an inexplicable sense of trepidation as well. However, he could not think of anything within a short period of time. When the Hell Witch Emperor retracted his gaze and glanced sideways, he saw the Shadowless Emperor grabbing the gray saber barehanded. The Shadowless Emperor had never been to the 10,000 race meet and did not know what that gray saber was. However, the Hell Witch Emperor had witnessed how terrifying that gray saber was personally. That was the power of time. 1,000 years ago, at the 10,000 race meet, even the Heavenly God Emperor could not defend against the power of the time saber. A single slash was 30,000 years of lifespan. Don't touch that saber, the Hell Witch Emperor reminded hurriedly. It's just a greater divine power. What's the big deal? The Shadowless Emperor replied indifferently, and his palm had already landed on the gray saber. Chapter 1719, 5 Fiend Ghost Curse. Chapter 1719, 5 Fiend Ghost Curse. Crack. Reaching out, the Shadowless Emperor crushed the gray saber and his palm was fine. The Shadowless Emperor sneered internally and glanced askance at the Hell Witch Emperor, saying proudly, "It's just a greater divine power. There's nothing to be alarmed about." Hell Witch, you. Suddenly, he could not continue. As though he sensed something, the Shadowless Emperor's expression changed starkly. How could that be? Initially, the Shadowless Emperor had a lifespan of 50,000 years. However, in that short period of time, he only had 20,000 years left. For emperors, 20,000 years of lifespan was already the beginning of their descent from their peak. In the blink of an eye, the Shadowless Emperor looked much older. In fact, there were even faint wrinkles at the corner of his eyes, and there were a few strands of white hair in his black hair that were extremely striking. The Shadowless Emperor channeled his blood chi wildly and even conjured a supreme divine power that surged within his body, wanting to reverse the situation. However, no matter what he did, his lifespan showed no signs of recovering. An entire 30,000 years of lifespan had vanished just like that. That's the power of time. The Hell Witch Emperor had a grim expression and said in a deep voice, "A single slash can sever 30,000 years of lifespan. It's irreversible and impossible to recover." The Shadowless Emperor's expression turned extremely terrible. He had not expected that a greater divine power would cause him so much damage. Right then, the Dragon Phoenix true body channeled his essence spirit, and a gray fog condensed in his palms. It surged and changed, forming another gray saber. The time saber appeared once more and slashed towards the Shadowless Emperor. The Shadowless Emperor only had 20,000 years of lifespan left. If he was struck again, he would exhaust his lifespan and die. If they could kill a top emperor, the pressure on the Dragon Phoenix true body and Night Spirit would be greatly reduced. Don't use Dermic treasures to defend. Use divine powers to defend. The Hell Witch Emperor reminded hurriedly. Time was incorporeal and was the most difficult to comprehend. Dermic treasures could not defend against it, and only divine powers could. Under normal circumstances, given the Shadowless Emperor's cultivation realm, he would be able to defend against the Time Saber as long as he released a greater divine power. However, the Shadowless Emperor did not dare to be careless and summoned his innate divine power, Hurricane Wings. The Shadowless Emperor had already cultivated that innate divine power to the level of a supreme divine power. Swoosh! He spread his wings and spun continuously. The edges of his wings were extremely sharp and a storm surrounded his body, forming a gigantic sharp disc that charged towards the Time Saber. Boom! There was a loud bang. The Time Saber shattered and dissipated on the spot. Although the power of time was terrifying, it was only a greater divine power after all, and could not withstand the impact of a supreme divine power. Back at the 10,000 race meet, the Heavenly God Emperor released his innate divine power, the Divine Blood Hoop, as well. Not only did he shatter the Time Saber with ease, he even nearly injured the Dragon Phoenix true body severely. Thankfully, the Chan Dragon Emperor intervened in time and defended against the Divine Blood Hoop. Now that the Time Saber was shattered, the sharp disc formed by the Hurricane Wings merely paused for a moment before slashing towards the Dragon Phoenix true body once more. At the same time, the Hell Witch Emperor and Blood Emperor attacked at the same time. Without hesitation, the two top emperors released their supreme divine powers. Endless Blood Sea. The thousands of blood vines of the Blood Emperor spewed out endless blood that fused with his divine powers, forming an endless sea of blood that devoured towards the Dragon Phoenix true body. 5 Fiend Ghost Curse. The Hell Witch Emperor waved the bone staff in his hands, and dark green curse power surged. In midair, 5 menacing skulls were formed and charged towards the Dragon Phoenix true body. Hurricane Wings was the first to descend. Suddenly, a cold saber flew out from the glabella of the Dragon Phoenix true body. The blade was snow-white and dragon bones could be vaguely seen within. Dragon Soul Saber. Now that the Dragon Phoenix true body had entered the Mahayana realm, the saber had already returned to its original Dermic treasure level. Peng! The saber trembled, and with a series of dragon roars, endless saber chi burst forth, forming a divine dragon that circled around the Dragon Soul Saber. Sea Calming. The Dragon Phoenix true body controlled the Dragon Soul Saber and channeled his blood chi, releasing Sea Calming as he slashed towards the incoming sharp disc. Boom! There was a loud bang. The sharp disc froze in midair and dissipated, revealing the massive figure of the Shadowless Emperor. However, the Dragon Soul Saber was repelled by a powerful force as well. The Dragon Phoenix claw was drenched in blood from the shock. That slash contained the greater divine power of the body immobilization technique. Coupled with the power of the Dragon Phoenix true body's body, blood chi, and even the power of the Time Saber, he finally managed to defend against the power of the Hurricane Wings. The more supreme divine powers comprehended by emperors, the stronger their essence spirits and the stronger the supreme divine powers released. Although he blocked the Hurricane Wings, the danger of the Dragon Phoenix true body was not resolved. To be precise, the Dragon Phoenix true body had already fallen into an unprecedented danger. The two supreme divine powers of the Blood Emperor and Hell Witch Emperor had already descended. Swoosh! The endless blood sea blanketed the skies and drowned the Dragon Phoenix true body. Not only did the blood sea contain powerful divine powers, it was also filled with endless filth and evil. If ordinary emperors were devoured by the blood sea, they would turn into pus and blood in less than 3 breaths and fuse into the blood sea. The battle between the emperors intensified. The storyteller, Long Ran, and the others could not help but feel their hearts clench when they saw the Dragon Phoenix true body devoured by the blood sea. If the Dragon Phoenix true body died, even the taboo divine Ho would definitely not be able to defend against the attacks of the 5 top emperors. At that time, the Green Lotus true body and the emperors of the human race would all die here. None of them would be spared. Swoosh! Right then, a gigantic figure broke through the surface of the blood sea and burned with raging flames. It was the Dragon Phoenix true body. However, the flames on the Dragon Phoenix true body were also weakening. The Dragon Phoenix flames was the innate divine power of the Dragon Phoenix. However, he had yet to cultivate that divine power to the supreme level. If not for the fact that the Dragon Phoenix flames countered filth and evil, the Dragon Phoenix true body would have died in the blood sea as well. Let's see how much longer you can last. The Blood Emperor had a ruthless expression as he grit his teeth and channeled his essence spirit wildly. A massive wave surged from the blood sea and devoured the Dragon Phoenix true body once more. Splash! Splash! The 2 powers of the blood sea and the Dragon Phoenix flames clashed repeatedly with an ear-piercing sound. Only, the Dragon Phoenix flames were getting weaker. However, the blood sea was endless. Ooh, ooh. Right then, the sound of ghosts wailing could be heard. 5 dark green skulls howled over like 5 malevolent ghosts and fiends, landing on the Dragon Phoenix true body instantly. Crack, crack. As though they had gone mad, the skulls opened their mouths and chomped down on the flesh of the Dragon Phoenix true body. Under normal circumstances, the Dragon Phoenix true body had the Dragon Phoenix flames and scales to protect him, and his defense was strong. However, at that moment, his Dragon Phoenix flames and scales were mostly exhausted by the blood sea. The 5 skulls were also condensed from a supreme divine power and bit wildly. They tore off 5 pieces of flesh with scales from the Dragon Phoenix true body and devoured them in huge mouthfuls. Chapter 1720, End of the Rope. Chapter 1720, End of the Rope. The Dragon Phoenix true body shuddered. When the 5 pieces of flesh were torn off by the 5 Fiend ghosts, he could clearly sense that his blood chi and life force had decreased slightly. Suddenly, the Dragon Phoenix true body's expression changed as though he sensed something. Something was not right. His lifespan was decreasing. The bite of the 5 Fiend ghosts would not only devour the blood chi and life force of the Dragon Phoenix true body, but also his lifespan. Of course, that devouring speed was far less terrifying than the time saber. A single bite from an Fiend skeleton could only devour about 1,000 years of the Dragon Phoenix true body's lifespan. The speed of lifespan deterioration seemed slow. However, if the 5 Fiend skeletons bit at the same time, it would mean that the Dragon Phoenix true body would lose 5,000 years of lifespan instantly. What was even more frightening was that the 5 Fiend skeletons clung onto the Dragon Phoenix the entire time and could not be shaken off. Although the Dragon Phoenix true body had a lifespan of hundreds of thousands of years, he could not defend against such expenditure. Hee. The Hell Witch Emperor sneered with a dark green gaze. Desolate Marshal, do you think that you're the only one who knows divine powers and secret skills that can reduce one's lifespan? Xing. Before the Hell Witch Emperor could finish his sentence, the 5 Fiend skeletons opened their mouths once more and tore off a large piece of flesh from the Dragon Phoenix. In less than 2 breaths, the lifespan of the Dragon Phoenix true body was reduced by 10,000 years. Ever since he comprehended Baron, the Dragon Phoenix true body had killed many strong foes with this powerful trump card. His time saber had even killed emperors before. However, he had never felt such a strong sense of time passing from himself. In less than 2 breaths, his lifespan of 10,000 years was gone. It was an extremely uncomfortable feeling. It made one feel powerless and crazy. The dragon phoenix true body did not dare to delay and channeled his blood chi with all his might. Boom! A loud bang sounded from his body. One after another, incomparably strong demon kings descended. Their claws were sharp and lifelike as they roared into the skies with a tremendous might. His bloodline phenomenon burst forth, and the 5 fiend skeletons were repelled instantly. Shatter! The Blood Emperor channeled the Blood Sea and created raging tides that struck the 11 demon kings around the dragon phoenix true body continuously. Boom! 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 A loud bang sounded as the 11 demon kings fought against the Blood Sea. The Blood Emperor's countless blood vines stabbed into the ground and circulated the Blood Refinement Fiend Sutra, refining the spilled bloodlines wildly and gathering them in the Blood Sea. Not only did the power of the Blood Sea not weaken, it became stronger instead. Even the 11 demon kings could not defend against it, and their lights dimmed as cracks appeared on their bodies. Before long, the 11 demon kings would be devoured by the Blood Sea. Condense. The dragon phoenix true body channeled his essence spirit and hollered. Under his will, the 11 demon kings dissipated and turned into thick demonic chi that surged above his head. In the blink of an eye, a butterfly the size of 10 feet appeared from the surging demonic chi. The butterfly spread its blood-colored wings with 2 bright moons imprinted on them, looking at the emperor's present like a pair of eyes. Compared to the previous 11 demon kings, the blood-colored butterfly was way too inferior in terms of size. However, the moment the blood butterfly appeared, the initially turbulent blood sea calmed down. The endless blood sea seemed to be frozen by an invisible force. It froze and did not move at all. In fact, there were no ripples on the surface of the sea. The Blood Emperor was not surprised when he saw that. He had long heard that a blood-colored butterfly would eventually appear in Desolate Marshall's bloodline phenomenon and was extremely powerful. The Blood Emperor's glabella shone and a scarlet blood gourd appeared. That was his destiny dermic treasure. The Blood Emperor bit his tongue gently and spat out a stream of essence blood onto the blood gourd. The blood gourd shuddered and shone with a scarlet light. Go! The Blood Emperor hollered and threw the blood gourd into midair, arriving above the head of the dragon phoenix true body. The mouth of the gourd was facing down towards the blood-colored butterfly. Absorb! He controlled the blood gourd, and an extremely terrifying suction force burst forth from its mouth. The power of divine powers descended and pulled the blood-colored butterfly into the blood gourd. Hee. When he saw that, the Blood Emperor grinned. I've long prepared methods to deal with your blood butterfly. I don't care if you're a bloodline phenomenon, divine beast, or fiend demon. Once you enter my blood gourd, you'll turn into blood in less than 3 breaths. The moment he said that, the Blood Emperor seemed to have sensed something, and his expression changed when he looked at the blood gourd in his palm. He threw out the blood gourd in his hands, and his essence spirit transformed into a blood beam. He had actually abandoned his body and fled far away. The moment he did that, the blood gourd exploded in midair with an extremely terrifying power. The Blood Emperor's blood vine body was swept into a blood mist by the power and was completely destroyed. If the Blood Emperor's essence spirit had not escaped in time, he would have died within. The Hell Witch Emperor's pupils constricted slightly, and he was secretly alarmed. Even he had not expected that blood butterfly to be so terrifying that even the Blood Emperor's destiny dermic treasure could not trap it. Of course, after the blood gourd exploded, the blood butterfly dissipated as well. A look of surprise flashed through the eyes of the dragon phoenix true body. He was still a little off. These top emperors were experienced in combat and had an unparalleled sensitivity towards life and death. Coupled with their many trump cards, they were extremely difficult to kill. Desolate Marshal, you destroyed my destiny dermic treasure. I'm going to drink your blood and eat your flesh. The Blood Emperor channeled blood rebirth and reconstructed his body. With a pale expression, he roared. Although he managed to survive, the destruction of his destiny dermic treasure still caused him considerable injuries. The Blood Emperor waved his blood vines and took root on the ground, channeling the blood refinement Fiend Sutra once more to refine his bloodline and heal his injuries. At the same time, the Blood Emperor channeled the Endless Blood Sea and launched his final attack on the Dragon Phoenix true body. Your bloodline phenomenon is already gone. Let's see how you defend against it. The Blood Emperor had a cold expression, and his eyes shone with a murderous glint. Desolate Marshal, your taboo body must die today. On the other side, the Shadowless Emperor said slowly with a cold expression. He could also tell that the Dragon Phoenix true body was at the end of his rope and could not hold on any longer. Without holding back, the Shadowless Emperor conjured a supreme divine power. Phantom Slash. The Shadowless Emperor hollered softly. Suddenly, dozens of Shadowless Emperors appeared around the Dragon Phoenix true body. They wielded two sabers, and it was difficult to tell if they were real or fake. Every single one of them emitted an extremely terrifying aura. Back at the 10,000 race meet, the malevolent Wind Rakshasa Emperor released this supreme divine power against the Eternal Human Emperor. However, it was easily resolved by the Eternal Human Emperor, and he was killed instead. The Shadowless Emperor was not worried at all. After all, the taboo Dragon Phoenix had yet to grow to its peak and was far inferior to the Eternal Human Emperor. Notwithstanding whether the Dragon Phoenix could tell where his true body was, even if he could tell, the taboo Dragon Phoenix could not defend against his slash. The supreme divine power, Phantom Slash, contained two killing moves. Phantoms could bewitch opponents. The final slash was even more lethal. Chapter 1721. Hanging by a Thread. Chapter 1721. Hanging by a Thread. The Shadowless Emperor was not wrong. The Dragon Phoenix true body could no longer hold on. This battle was equivalent to the Dragon Phoenix true body facing 3 top emperors alone. Even Night Spirit could only fight against 2 top emperors. Right now, the Blood Emperor, Shadowless Emperor, and Hell Witch Emperor released their supreme divine powers and trump cards. The reason why the Dragon Phoenix true body could last till now was because of his taboo bloodline and his powerful physique that cultivated the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness all year round. After all, the Dragon Phoenix true body had only comprehended a single supreme divine power. He was still weaker in terms of strength. At that moment, it was extremely difficult for the Dragon Phoenix true body to defend against the corrosive power of the Endless Blood Sea. He could not defend against the Phantom Slash released by the Shadowless Emperor at all. First, Night Spirit was fighting against the Golden Crow Fire Emperor and Thousand Eye Emperor, but he was paying attention to the commotion. Sensing the danger the Dragon Phoenix true body was in, he was anxious and wanted to break free from the entanglement of the Golden Crow Fire Emperor and Thousand Eye Emperor to support the Dragon Phoenix true body. However, Night Spirit merely moved slightly, and the Golden Crow Fire Emperor and Thousand Eye Emperor sensed it. Trying to leave, the Thousand Eye Emperor sneered, "It's not that easy." Petrification. Without hesitation, the Thousand Eye Emperor released his supreme divine power, Petrification Eye. The heavenly eye on his glabella opened and released a gray beam of light that enveloped Night Spirit. Kill. Night Spirit turned his head, and a dark beam of light gathered in his eyes, prepared to charge towards the Petrification Eye. It was the Nether Glow Eye. The Nether Glow stone that Su Zimo obtained contained the inheritance of that visual technique. However, for Night Spirit, who possessed the bloodline of the Divine Ho, he did not need the Nether Glow stone at all. The visual technique was in his memories. Spirit Slaying Curse. Suddenly, the voice of the Hell Witch Emperor sounded. He had used an Essence Spirit secret skill. This time round, the Hell Witch Emperor did not attack the Dragon Phoenix true body. The Essence Spirit secret skill was targeted at Night Spirit. When the Hell Witch Emperor's everlasting curse failed to kill the Dragon Phoenix true body, he vaguely guessed that there might be a treasure in the consciousness of the Dragon Phoenix true body. Therefore, the Hell Witch Emperor no longer tried to release an Essence Spirit secret skill on the Dragon Phoenix true body. This time round, the Hell Witch Emperor attacked Night Spirit without any warning. Furthermore, it was the most treacherous essence Spirit's secret skill. Suddenly, a dark green storm appeared in Night Spirit's consciousness and swept towards his essence spirit. The power of the Spirit slaying curse would descend directly into one's consciousness, and it was impossible to defend against. Night Spirit did not dare to be careless and channeled his essence Spirit's secret skill hurriedly to defend. In his consciousness, a purple-gold light pierced the dark green storm. The two essence Spirit's secret skills clashed. The Spirit slaying curse dissipated. Night Spirit's expression changed as he grunted and swayed. Although he blocked the Spirit slaying curse, his essence spirit still suffered some impact. His nether glow eye dissipated before it was completely formed. At the same time, the petrification eye descended. Crack, crack, crack. Instantly, Night Spirit's body was covered by a layer of grayish-white rocks. Not only did his flesh turn into stone, even his bloodline gradually stopped and showed signs of petrification. Night Spirit's body trembled as he channeled his blood chi wildly to defend against the power of petrification and endured immense pain. This was a supreme divine power after all. It was almost impossible for Night Spirit to withstand it completely. Roar. Raising his head, Night Spirit let out a deep roar of pain. His throat was almost petrified and his roar became extremely hoarse. Petrification did not merely mean motionless. If Night Spirit's flesh was petrified, his body would be completely destroyed and all his life force would turn into dull rocks. Even if his essence spirit could escape, he would not have a bloodline that could reconstruct his body. Night Spirit growled once more and channeled some unknown secret skill, causing purple-gold flames to burst forth from his body. The purple-gold flames began to burn the petrification power in his body. Night Spirit's bloodline started circulating once more. The Hell Witch Emperor focused his gaze and murmured, "He's truly going all out. This is a secret skill that burns his lifespan." Boom! Finally, Night Spirit broke free from the restraints of the petrification eye completely. However, he was clearly much weaker. That secret skill consumed a large amount of his lifespan. Night Spirit broke free from the petrification eye and wanted to charge towards the Dragon Phoenix true body without hesitation. He was not completely out of danger yet, but he was still thinking about Zimo. Right then, a gigantic blazing sun descended and struck Night Spirit heavily. The Golden Crow Fire Emperor had already attacked the moment Night Spirit was trapped by the petrification eye. It was a supreme divine power, Golden Crow Blaze. After releasing that supreme divine power, the Golden Crow Fire Emperor transformed into a blazing sun that emitted a scorching power that incinerated everything in its path. Bang! Night Spirit had to burn his lifespan to break free from the restraints of the petrification eye and was sent flying by the blazing sun before he could defend. Before he even touched the ground, the scales on his body already fell off consecutively. Night Spirit's eyes dimmed as he spat out huge mouthfuls of blood. Without the protection of his scales, his body was burned and cracked. The moment blood flowed out, it was incinerated by the power of the Golden Crow Blaze. Before Night Spirit could help the Dragon Phoenix true body, he was severely injured and was in danger, his life hanging by a thread. Night Spirit. On the other side, Zimo was anxious when he saw that as well. However, even with 3 heads, 6 arms, and everlasting vitality, he could only barely ensure his survival against the 9 emperors of the primordial races. He could not break through the obstruction of the emperors. The moment Zimo was distracted, the 9 emperors of the primordial races seized the opportunity and released their supreme divine powers one after another, forming torrential attacks that descended. Zimo's expression turned grim. He did not even know if he could survive such a ferocious attack, let alone help the Dragon Phoenix true body and Night Spirit. Zimo reared his head and roared into the skies, channeling his blood chi to its limits. A creation green lotus condensed behind him and a resplendent glow spread, illuminating the mountains and rivers. Tsk. A series of heaven-slaying sword chi burst forth from Zimo's body. The 108,000 sword chi were blinding and white. Su Zimo waved his 3 heads and 6 arms and chanted Sanskrit continuously. He waved 6 dermic treasures and clashed against 9 supreme divine powers. The 9 supreme divine powers descended and collided with the 108,000 heaven-slaying sword chi first. However, silently, the heaven-slaying sword chi was devoured by the power of the 9 supreme divine powers. The difference was too great. Although the heaven-slaying sword art was indeed powerful, Su Zimo had only cultivated it to the realm of a greater divine power. Yet, they were facing 9 supreme divine powers. Boom! After devouring the 108,000 heaven-slaying sword chi, the 9 supreme divine powers collided against the bloodline phenomenon, the creation Green Lotus, with a loud bang. The void trembled and the weather changed. After a momentary stalemate, the creation Green Lotus shattered inch by inch and dissipated into the world. Chapter 1722, Collapse of the Situation. Chapter 1722, Collapse of the Situation. Although the power of the 9 supreme divine powers was diminished significantly after colliding against the bloodline phenomenon, the creation Green Lotus, they could still take form and suppress forth. The Green Lotus true body was also in immense danger. He no longer had any methods that could take on the 9 supreme divine powers head-on. Su Zimo waved his 6 arms and channeled his blood chi to its limits. 6 dermic treasures shone brightly in his palm. Boom, boom, boom. A deafening bang shook the world. A blood mist burst forth from Su Zimo's body. In his palm, a saber dermic treasure was snapped by a supreme divine power. The tremendous power exploded his arm into a blood mist. Immediately after, his other arm exploded as well. Poof, poof, poof. Fresh blood gushed out. In the blink of an eye, Su Zimo's 2 heads and 4 arms were ruptured by the supreme divine powers that blanketed the skies. Even 4 dermic treasures were crippled. Right now, Su Zimo only had the Human Emperor's seal and Creation Lotus platform left. His 3 heads 6 arms was destroyed by the 9 supreme divine powers. Of the 9 supreme divine powers, there were 3 left. Taking a deep breath of air, Su Zimo took out a long scroll from his robes and opened it, revealing words filled with blood. The Human Emperor's Dermic Edict. The power of the Human Emperor's Dermic Edict was almost depleted. However, this Dermic Edict was written personally by the Human Emperor using the Human Emperor's brush that was stained with the blood of emperors and still possessed some powerful might. Su Zimo spread the Human Emperor's Dermic Edict and enveloped himself. The moment he did that, the remaining 3 supreme divine powers descended. Boom! The void seemed to have stopped. Immediately after, a faint sound of cracking could be heard from midair. Cracks appeared on the Human Emperor's Dermic Edict. Thereafter, the Human Emperor's Dermic Edict shattered into pieces that scattered like snowflakes. The final thing left behind by the Human Emperor for Su Zimo was also shattered by the 9 emperors of the primordial races in this battle. Even with the protection of the Human Emperor's Dermic Edict, Su Zimo's Green Lotus true body suffered a huge blow. Bang! Like a meteor, Su Zimo smashed heavily onto the ground, creating a huge pit. Su Zimo struggled and stood up from the pit. He felt his tendons and bones about to split, and the pain was unbearable. The Green Lotus true body was severely injured. At that moment, he could still circulate everlasting vitality. However, the power released by everlasting vitality was no longer as strong as before, and its effect was greatly reduced. The speed of the Green Lotus true body's healing was also much slower. If Su Zimo was given 2 to 4 hours, he might be able to recover to his peak. However, the 9 emperors of the primordial races had already closed in once more. The 9 emperors of the primordial races would not even give him a single breath, let alone 4 hours. The Green Lotus true body panted heavily. With every breath, there was a strong blood stench in his nose and mouth. He no longer had any trump cards. He could not defend against the attacks of the 9 emperors of the primordial races with his damaged green Lotus true body and the human emperor's seal and creation Lotus platform alone. Of course, the only secret skill he could release right now was the Kacharati Dao Fire. However, the might of the Kacharati Dao Fire could only be considered as a greater divine power at most. Even if it was released, it would not affect anything. A hint of sadness flashed through Su Zimo's eyes. The green Lotus true body was in a desperate situation as well. However, he still could not sense anything from the martial Dao Prime body. Boom! Right then, another loud bang sounded not far away. It was the supreme divine power released by the Shadowless Emperor, Phantom Slash. For the Dragon Phoenix true body, it was not difficult to distinguish which was the Shadowless Emperor's true body among the dozens of figures. Although the Dragon Phoenix true body was already at the end of his rope, his spirit perception was still present after cultivating the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness all year round. Almost instinctively, the Dragon Phoenix true body locked onto the Shadowless Emperor's true body. However, the Dragon Phoenix true body fell into the endless blood sea, and the Dragon Phoenix flames on his body were almost extinguished. His blood chi was weak, and he could not defend against that supreme divine power at all. The Phantom Slash condensed a cold beam that slashed towards the glabella of the Dragon Phoenix true body. Suddenly, a small tripod the size of a thumb flew out from the glabella of the Dragon Phoenix true body and expanded rapidly. In the blink of an eye, a 5 feet tall bronze square tripod with 4 legs appeared. It had an ancient aura and defined edges. The bronze square tripod clearly seemed useless. It was filled with cracks and did not have any dermic powers or divine powers surrounding it. Although the bronze square tripod could be considered as the destiny dermic weapon of the Dragon Phoenix true body, in reality, he had not been able to refine it successfully. Therefore, even in battles all these years, the Dragon Phoenix true body rarely used the bronze square tripod. Even if he summoned it, he could not use the bronze square tripod to release any dermic arts or divine powers. At most, he would smash people with the tripod. Be it with dermic powers or divine powers, it was difficult to refine the bronze square tripod. All these years, the Dragon Phoenix true body had searched for countless treasures to try and repair the bronze square tripod. However, all of them ended in failure. No matter what methods the Dragon Phoenix true body used, he could not refine the bronze square tripod, let alone fuse with those universal treasures. There was no way he could smelt and repair it. The origin of the bronze square tripod was a mystery. Even the Chen Dragon Emperor, who had lived for hundreds of thousands of years in Tianhuang mainland, could not tell the background of that tripod. Now that his life was hanging by a thread, the Dragon Phoenix true body could only summon the bronze square tripod and attempt to defend against the Phantom Slash. Fu, desolate marshal. You're at your wits' end to be reduced to such a state. The Shadowless Emperor sneered. Notwithstanding the fact that the bronze square tripod was filled with cracks and was a useless item, even a truly powerful dermic treasure could not defend against the power of a supreme divine power completely. How dare you take out such scrap metal? Watch me break it with a single strike. The Shadowless Emperor hollered, and the Phantom Slash struck the bronze square tripod heavily. Clang! The sound of metal clashing was extremely ear-piercing. The surrounding hell which Emperor, Blood Emperor, and even Shadowless Emperor frowned and gasped. The Shadowless Emperor shuddered and retreated a few steps in midair with a changed expression. When his supreme divine power struck the bronze square tripod that was filled with cracks, it was completely dissipated without any killing power landing on the Dragon Phoenix true body. Of course, the bronze square tripod was sent flying as well and fell into the blood sea in silence. The blood sea surged and even drowned the Dragon Phoenix true body, extinguishing the Dragon Phoenix flames. However, there was no blood around the bronze square tripod. When the blood sea surged around the tripod, it dispersed automatically, forming a vacuum. This is a treasure. Almost at the same time, the eyes of the hell which Emperor, Blood Emperor, and Shadowless Emperor lit up. Let's kill the taboo Dragon Phoenix first. The Hell Witch Emperor reminded. The Blood Emperor and Shadowless Emperor understood what was more important and composed themselves before charging towards the Dragon Phoenix true body once more. In the blink of an eye, Su Zimo's two true bodies and Night Spirit were in a hopeless situation. The situation had collapsed. Chapter 1723, Comprehending Divine Powers. Chapter 1723, Comprehending Divine Powers. Within the endless blood sea. The Dragon Phoenix true body fell into it and could barely defend against the Shadowless Emperor's attack. He could not escape at all. However, the longer he stayed in the blood sea, the deeper the influence on the Dragon Phoenix true body by the filthy power of the blood sea. Initially, his body burned with the Dragon Phoenix flames. But now, the Dragon Phoenix flames were completely extinguished. The Blood Emperor channeled the endless blood sea while refining the bloodlines on the battlefield, causing the power of the blood sea to increase. Not only did the filthy and evil power of the blood sea extinguish the Dragon Phoenix flames, it even began to infect the Dragon Phoenix scales and seep into his bloodline. The blood chi of the Dragon Phoenix true body intensified. In melee combat, he could no longer defend against the Shadowless Emperor's attacks, and more wounds appeared on his body. What was even more serious was that the Hell Witch Emperor's 5 fiend ghosts stuck to him the entire time and gnawed at his flesh and life force. The Dragon Phoenix true body was already at his limits dealing with the Shadowless Emperor in the endless blood sea and could not break free from the 5 fiend ghosts. The 5 fiend ghosts did not only devour life force and flesh, but also lifespan. Unknowingly, the Dragon Phoenix true body had already lost 100,000 years of lifespan in that short period of time. Even though the Dragon Phoenix was a taboo and had a lifespan of hundreds of thousands of years, it could not withstand the speed of deterioration. However, he was helpless to stop it. He had already used up all his trump cards, and his defeat was certain. Not far away, Night Spirit burned his lifespan but could not escape from the pursuit of the Golden Crow Fire Emperor and Thousand Eye Emperor. Against the attacks of the two top emperors, Night Spirit's injuries worsened and his blood chi began to deteriorate. His movement technique was no longer as agile as before. It was only a matter of time before Night Spirit died as well. The situation of the Green Lotus true body was even more tragic. After being surrounded by the 9 emperors of the primordial races and losing 3 heads, 6 arms, the Green Lotus true body was almost shattered and could die at any moment. Was he going to lose? If he lost this battle, he would not be the one to die. The storyteller would die. Emperors of the dragon, Kuin, and barbarian races would die. The emperors of the human race would die. At the borders of the North region, all the cultivators who fought against the 8 demon regions and primordial 6 races would not be able to escape the fate of defeat. The humans of Tianhuang mainland would either be extinguished or enslaved. He could not afford to lose. He could not lose this battle either. Even if the martial Dao Prime body came out of seclusion successfully and returned, it would be too late for regrets if he saw the human race of Tianhuang mainland destroyed. At that time, his old friends would already be dead. Without Yao Xue, Little Fatty, Lin Xuanji, Demoness Ji, and Ming Zhun, what was the point of having the martial Dao Prime body be alive all alone? Crack, crack, crack. The 5 fiend ghosts bit the flesh of the Dragon Phoenix true body continuously and devoured it in huge mouthfuls. They had excited expressions, and their eyes shone with faint green lights. The Dragon Phoenix true body was already bloodied from the bites, and it was a tragic sight. He was already numb to the pain. A thought flashed through the Dragon Phoenix true body's mind as he sensed the deterioration of his lifespan, and he suddenly fell into a mysterious state. If he could comprehend another supreme divine power, he could break out of the situation. As long as there was enough time, the Dragon Phoenix true body could cultivate many greater divine powers to the level of supreme divine powers. Over the years, the Dragon Phoenix true body had also attempted to cultivate many greater divine powers. Among them, apart from the 6-tusk divine strength, he cultivated time is like a saber the most. The Dragon Phoenix true body had already cultivated Baron at the Void Reversion Realm. The essence of Baron was the power of time. Furthermore, he had obtained the inheritance of half-martial ancestor instant in the stone statue cemetery in the Dao inheritance ground. That was also a power of time. Although the Dragon Phoenix true body had come into contact with the power of time a long time ago, it was way too mysterious and difficult to comprehend. Time passed and was everywhere. The cycle of life and death was time. The passing of spring and arrival of autumn was time. The rise and set of the sun was time. The transformation from a sea to a field was time. Time was like a saber and every single slash was pressing. Time was everywhere but difficult to capture. Although the Dragon Phoenix true body knew about Baron and could condense the time saber, he had not been able to advance the time saber to the level of a supreme divine power for the past 1,000 years. One of the most important reasons was because he had yet to truly experience the power of time. Up till this point of his cultivation, he had only cultivated for a few thousand years. For the taboo Dragon Phoenix with a lifespan of hundreds of thousands of years, he was like a child after thousands of years. How could he understand the vicissitudes of life? But now, in this tragic battle, the 5 Fiend ghost curse of the Hell Witch Emperor made the Dragon Phoenix true body experience the cruelty of time deeply. Earlier on, he lost 100,000 years of lifespan. In this short period of time, he lost another 100,000 years of his lifespan after the 5 Fiend ghosts gnawed on his flesh. 200,000 years of lifespan had already passed. This was a feeling and experience that he had never gone through before. A mysterious feeling rose in the Dragon Phoenix true body's heart as he entered a state of enlightenment. In that instant, he gained a new understanding and comprehension towards the power of time. All the doubts he had encountered over the past 1,000 years seemed to have been answered. Within the endless blood sea, the eyes of the Dragon Phoenix true body closed. Against the Shadowless Emperor's melee combat, he relied entirely on his spirit perception and instincts. At the same time, a mysterious energy fluctuation gradually spread from the Dragon Phoenix true body. It was extremely obscure and grew stronger. How dare you close your eyes? The Shadowless Emperor felt extremely provoked and humiliated as his attacks turned fiercer. However, the power of the Dragon Phoenix true body seemed to be getting stronger as well, neutralizing all his attacks. What's going on? Suddenly, the Blood Emperor frowned and noticed something unusual. The filthy power of the Blood Sea could not seep into the Dragon Phoenix true body's body and bloodline, as though it was met with an immense resistance. The Hell Witch Emperor sensed something as well, and his expression changed. He could sense that although the 5 Fiend ghosts were still chewing the flesh of the Dragon Phoenix, his lifespan was no longer decreasing. Right then, the Hell Witch Emperor felt an obscure energy fluctuation. That is, suddenly, the Hell Witch Emperor's eyes widened and his expression changed as he exclaimed, "Supreme Divine Power." "What?" the Blood Emperor asked instinctively. Hurry and interrupt him." The Hell Witch Emperor shrieked and pointed at the Dragon Phoenix true body, shouting, "He's comprehending a supreme divine power. We can't let him continue comprehending." There was something else that the Hell Witch Emperor did not manage to say. Supreme divine powers varied in strength as well. Weak supreme divine powers such as Sleeve Universe and Concealment did not pose much of a threat to them because they did not have much killing power. Powerful supreme divine powers such as the Killing Word Art or Prometha Bridge of the Eternal Human Emperor could kill emperors upon release. As for the Hell Witch Emperor, he felt shudders when he sensed that divine power aura from the Dragon Phoenix. He did not know what supreme divine power the Dragon Phoenix true body was comprehending. However, he knew that this supreme divine power was definitely not weaker than the Killing Word Art or the Prometha Bridge. Chapter 1724, Fleeting Moment. Chapter 1724, Fleeting Moment. He's comprehending divine powers. The Blood Emperor was alarmed. Their battle against the Dragon Phoenix true body had already reached such an extent after the latter merely comprehended a single supreme divine power. If he comprehended another supreme divine power, the combat strength of the Dragon Phoenix true body would definitely increase exponentially. The Blood Emperor did not know what that supreme divine power was. However, he knew that if the Dragon Phoenix true body comprehended another supreme divine power, it would be many times more difficult for the three of them to kill him. Many variables would also be added to this battle. Blood Tribute. Without hesitation, the Blood Emperor released the secret skill of the Blood Refinement Fiend Sutra. At the same time, countless blood vines pulled out from the ground and charged towards the Dragon Phoenix true body like thousands of spirit snakes and anacondas. Suddenly, the Dragon Phoenix true body opened his eyes and looked at the Blood Emperor with a lightning gaze. At that moment, the Blood Emperor felt his body turn cold, as though a calamity was about to descend upon him at any moment. He could even smell the aura of death. How could that be? The Blood Emperor had a menacing expression and refused to believe it. Even if the Dragon Phoenix true body comprehended another supreme divine power, and his combat strength increased significantly, it was impossible for him to be killed directly. Right then, the Dragon Phoenix true body extended his Dragon Phoenix claw and pointed at the Blood Emperor through the endless blood sea. Fleeting moment. The moment those words were said, the world seemed to have fallen into silence. Not to mention the Blood Emperor and the other two. Even the Golden Crow Fire Emperor, Thousand Eye Emperor, and the other emperors in the battle turned to look with shocked expressions. Immediately after, an extremely terrifying power descended on the Blood Emperor. The Blood Emperor only had time to say a single word before he went silent. Right in front of the emperors, the Blood Emperor's blood chi deteriorated and thousands of blood vines withered, turning yellow. The Blood Emperor's true form shriveled and had already shrunk countless times. He was like an ordinary vine that was withered and yellow as he sprawled on the ground motionlessly without any signs of life. The emperors were horrified and their eyes were filled with endless shock and fear. Although the Hell Witch Emperor and Shadowless Emperor were not far from the Blood Emperor, they did not attack. It was already too late. Instantly, the Blood Emperor's lifespan was exhausted and he died. The Blood Refinement Fiend Sutra, divine powers, secret skills, and blood rebirth were all useless. A top emperor who comprehended 4 supreme divine powers and possessed combat strength equivalent to emperors of the human race who comprehended 6 supreme divine powers died, just like that in front of the other emperors with his lifespan exhausted instantly. In fact, there was a strange pause in the battlefield above the Dragonbone Valley. At that moment, many emperors who were fighting stopped. Initially, the Blood Emperor was an ordinary emperor who had only comprehended 2 supreme divine powers. The Blood Emperor had only suddenly risen in the past 1,000 years. In other words, the Blood Emperor was young with an age less than 20,000 years old. The lifespan of an emperor of the Bloodvine race was similar to an emperor of the human race. This meant that the Blood Emperor had at least 80,000 more years to live. However, in that instant, the 80,000 years of lifespan turned into nothingness and vanished. The Blood Emperor did not even have the chance to resist or even react before he died. Fleeting moment. This was a divine power that was even more terrifying and domineering than the Time Saber. A supreme divine power. Although the Blood Emperor was dead, the Hell Witch Emperor, Shadowless Emperor, and the others felt a chill. If that fleeting moment had descended above their heads earlier on, there was a high chance that one of them would have died. With the death of the Blood Emperor, the endless blood sea that trapped the Dragon Phoenix true body naturally dissipated gradually. An extremely massive power surged within the Dragon Phoenix true body and washed through his bloodline, body, and even essence spirit continuously. His body was being tempered by the power of the second supreme divine power he comprehended. The aura of the Dragon Phoenix true body rose continuously and became stronger, as though there was no end to it. His wounds were healing at a visible speed as well. Initially, the blood chi of the Dragon Phoenix true body was already weak. However, under the baptism of the supreme divine power, His blood chi surged and a powerful life force burst forth from his body once more. Bang! 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 The 5 Fiend ghosts who were initially sprawled on the Dragon Phoenix true body were shattered by the supreme divine power released by the Dragon Phoenix true body. That woke the Hell Witch Emperor up completely as well. Don't just stand there. Hurry and get rid of the divine Ho and the Green Lotus true body. The Hell Witch Emperor hurriedly commanded the emperors of the primordial races around him and shouted, I can still defend against this Dragon Phoenix for a while if I join forces with Shadowless. Many emperors reacted one after another. The battle between emperors broke out once more. At that moment, only the Hell Witch Emperor and Shadowless Emperor were left opposite the Dragon Phoenix true body. The Shadowless Emperor looked at the Dragon Phoenix true body with a wary gaze. Shadowless, don't worry. The Hell Witch Emperor said in a deep voice, although that supreme divine power is terrifying, it's impossible for him to release a second one in a short period of time. The Shadowless Emperor took a deep breath and calmed down as well. The Hell Witch Emperor continued, we just have to hold him back and wait for the Golden Crow Fire Emperor and Thousand Eye Emperor to deal with the Divine Ho and for the Green Lotus True Body to die. At that time, with so many emperors joining forces, no matter how strong this Dragon Phoenix is, he'll have to die here. Ha 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 ha. The Dragon Phoenix roared in laughter and raging flames reignited around his body. With a torrential aura, he shouted, Hell Witch, Shadowless, the two of you think that you can hold me back? Die. The 2 pairs of wings behind the Dragon Phoenix true body flapped and crossed layers of space, descending in front of the Shadowless Emperor. He reached out with his gigantic, menacing Dragon Phoenix claw and grabbed the top of the Shadowless Emperor's head. Hell Blood Shield. The Shadowless Emperor was alarmed and did not have time to think as he channeled his essence spirit hurriedly to condense the supreme divine power of the Blood Refinement Fiend Sutra. A shield made of blood appeared above his head. Blood light surged on the surface of the shield, and a strange blood face could vaguely be seen. Humph. The Dragon Phoenix true body said coldly, How dare you come out still? Destroy. The Dragon Phoenix claw shone with a cold glint, and the Dragon Phoenix flames expanded, piercing into the blood shield. The blood face was torn apart by the Dragon Phoenix claw instantly. Splash! Splash! The Dragon Phoenix flames burned blood and smoke billowed. The next moment, the Hell Blood Shield was pierced by the Dragon Phoenix claw. The emperors who caught sight of that were alarmed. Even supreme divine powers could not defend against the power of the taboo Dragon Phoenix. Shing! The Dragon Phoenix claw descended and tore the Shadowless Emperor's lower body into 2. Fresh blood dripped and countless organs spilled. However, the Shadowless Emperor had already vanished from the Dragon Phoenix claw. There was a supreme divine power fluctuation on the spot. Instant transference. In that moment of life and death, the Shadowless Emperor used a supreme divine power and teleported away, escaping from the Dragon Phoenix claw. If he was half a step slower earlier on, he would have died. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.